morning, beautiful people. It is Thursday, the 23rd of January, 2024. Welcome to TDA, the day after your favorite news platform and the home of popular culture as defined by you guys, the culture. Of course, every blessed day, man, we are hosted by the very best. Brent, you in the building?
Good morning, chat. Let me see who's here. What's the roll call?
Might need to talk up a tiny bit, Brent.
I can't see the top of this. My thing's not even on.
God damn it.
1 2 1 2 1 2. All right.
Yeah, that's better.
Good morning, Grand Rising. Gin and Gist.
Are you a hotel person, Brent, now?
No, that's the name of the person.
Pardon
sent
me.
the message first.
Pardon me.
Energy, Davina. Have you ever met a hotel?
Yeah, definitely.
I want to meet an official one.
How official are we talking now?
One that greets me with that same.
Is that all it
Grand
takes to be
Rising.
official?
For me, that's the barrier.
Okay.
I would love to meet one.
Mm.
I've met crystal people. I've met witches.
Okay.
I haven't met a warlock yet. But I've met one of those people that hand out stuff at the train station. So maybe I have met a warlock.
You know, I just realized. Thank you, energy, man. I said 2024, man. Diabolical, man. 2025, obviously, you guys. But you know what, though, Brent, yeah? Some of these, I've never met a crystal person.
So you've never seen the crystals in action?
No, never.
You know Sally has crystals?
Serious?
Yeah, he has crystals.
Hey, by the way, what happened to Sally the other day? Wasn't he meant to grace the stage?
I think he had a family problem.
Okay. Well, hopefully the family's well, man.
I should call him and check in on him.
Mm-hmm.
I should call in and check on Greek too.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been missing. Davina, Bex, J Bills, DCF Mux, Susanna, Christy, 90s Baby Show, 9 Ether, Abimi, Timmy, Amy Snow Globe, Natty, Akuya, Yvette, Paul Wow, Ree, Stacy, Deo. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Deo. I'm gonna go with that one. It's spelled D-E-E.
But it's an apostrophe.
A-R-O.
I think it's DR.
D-R-O. Everest, Ness Express, Enoch, Wama, TJ,
Big up TJ in the building.
Dr. Amani,
Big up Dr. Amani.
all the time, Izzy Bambino, T-Fit, and Rico. Apologize for our tardiness.
Yes, apologies, people. It was my fault, man.
I wasn't going to say that at all. I was going to say, like I told everybody, the beginning of this 2025 new year is going to be chaotic for a while until it's steady again.
Yes.
But we apologize nonetheless. Well done, Emmanuel. Where's my well done?
What did you do?
I stood corrected.
Oh.
I'm a accountable black man.
There we go.
I don't mind being corrected at all. I don't mind being critiqued at all. I don't even mind being reprimanded if I've done something wrong. Yeah. I'm saying all that for a reason.
I know.
All right, then let's get into the
comments.
The comments.
All right, people. So we had.
I thought twice about posting these, by the way, Emmanuel.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, whenever it's too one-way leaning, it feels icky, feels nasty, especially seeing as it's just myself and you in the stew. It doesn't get shared around properly. But I don't know. I've started something. I think I should be consistent with it.
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%. Plus, we're not emotional people here, just crying over comments.
I am emotional. I'm an emotional being. What are you talking about?
Well, you know what I mean. Nobody's crying.
You know what? And you saying that, I want to do topic of the day tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be able to sculpt it and craft it.
Okay.
Yeah. So leave that to me, please. Leave that to me.
I'm gonna leave it to you,
There's
bro.
going to be a thumbnail tomorrow.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Well, the first comment, big up Dennis Stampley Cali. I believe that's meant to say E-Man. E-Man is right about debates. His research shows what he's talking about. Right there. I'm pretty sure you guys won't be surprised to recognize that that's probably the only supportive comment for my particular side, my stance.
I did look for them. I really did. And that's why I put it first. I thought, should I put it last or first? I think first, so that it will make people think right from the top, there's going to be more.
All right. Well, the next one's by Jarek, who says, whether or not you support a candidate, you have to live under their leadership. So it is our duty to study the policies and decide which will be the better for your family and wider community. Else we have to deal with far worse. Liking a candidate is a bonus. It's the actions and policies they put in place. And if it benefits you, your values and the way of life, that should be the deciding factor, in my opinion. Big up Jarek. That's exactly how I feel as well, man. I don't think it matters who the person is, to be honest with you. What can they do that benefits you and your community? Next person who left a comment is D. If this is D from the chat, big up D. I feel E-Man and the guest speaker aren't being honest about their support of Trump. The KKK and many far-right groups have openly endorsed Trump, which means even if Trump himself isn't racist, his messaging and manifesto aligns with the feelings and thoughts of racist and fascist people. I'm not anti-Trump, but I don't support him either because I think he's a self-serving, opportunistic bigot. I think the US government as a whole are useless and harmful to the American people. Thank you for the comment. I'm going to address the rest probably all in one. Next comment by Fawaz, who says, just support Trump with your chest instead of sidestepping criticism and hiding behind the lesser of both evils rhetoric. Okay. Next comment by Chinua, who says, E-Man is so intellectually dishonest. Demi levied legit points against him and all he could do was offer whataboutism. He does this whenever someone argues against him on the topic of capitalism. It's slowly becoming a turn-off for me and other listeners. Obviously, they've congregated together to tell him their opinions. He never lets anyone challenge him. You shouldn't speak from a place of authority if you can't argue your points properly. Thank you for the comment. Next one is by Richard, who says, I can't believe that we use a ChatGPT as authentic research. I hear you. Next, also by Richard as well, I like E-Man, but he does come across as a know-it-all. His views are biased. He focuses on one point of view and neglects the other side, and he comes across as dismissive. Big up, Richard. Where do I start? Let me start with Richard's comment. I'll be honest with you. I think have I said this to you before, Brent? I don't know. This is what I have since we started the show, I think. Well, at least when we got to a certain point, I was mindful of, I don't like it when, or if somebody thinks I'm one of those people who thinks he's a know-it-all. You know what I'm saying? This is why sometimes I don't talk about certain things, right? Or this is why sometimes purposely, maybe I shouldn't say this, but sometimes with regards to certain topics, I act like I'm not too sure about certain things. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to come across like, oh, I know this particular thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I know sometimes people feel a particular way about that, right? But I feel like some people I've said that to are like, wait a minute, why the hell would you want to try and lower yourself to some degree? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to a particular topic. If you know, say what you know. So I think that's the best thing to do, right? And at the end of the day, all of us are trying to have a conversation or at least listen to the conversation or participate and take something from the conversation. So I think it's best that if I believe I know something or at least I'm just trying to interrogate an idea, we put it forward. And at the end of the day, that's what we come here to do, innit? We're all just talking in it, right? So I hear what you're saying, Richard. I definitely don't know it all. In fact, the more I know, I recognize that is the less I know. You know what I'm saying? With regards to the other comments, I think people need to recognize this. And this is one of the biggest criticisms that I kind of throw at the black community, right? And I know this is definitely not all black people, but I feel like, again, I have to mention that before people think I'm talking to every single black person. But I think people, we are too caught up in personalities. We're too caught up in liking people, as if that makes any difference to your pocket. And I think it's a very childish and infantile way of viewing anything in life. Right now, as we speak, right, you got people who are criticizing Saudi Arabia. And when I say people, I'm talking about people in the Middle East, people who are in support of Palestine, criticizing Saudi Arabia for doing business with Israel, or at least doing business with the Americans and the West and things of that nature. They're saying, why are you not in support of your Muslim brothers in Palestine, etc., etc.? Now, whether you think that's a good or bad thing, entirely up to you. But how do we know Saudi Arabia don't want to get themselves into a better position politically and socio-economically, globally, right? So that they can then better serve Palestine and the other people in the Middle East. How do we know that? You know what I'm saying? You would just think, you know what? Wait, I just don't like the West. I don't like what they've done in the past. So I'm definitely not going to do no business with them. It doesn't work that way. It's childish. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing to do with, it shouldn't anyway. It should be less about the person's personality, less about what they've said, all that sort of stuff, and more about what they're able to do and what they're going to do. Again, TJ made this very clear to people. We live in a world where, or at least in America and in the US, it's pretty much going to be a bipartisan situation. It's either going to be this or that. When I'm talking about Trump, right, you have to understand I'm comparing Trump, and I have to compare Trump to the alternative. Because if Trump doesn't win, the alternative wins. This shouldn't be difficult for anybody to understand. If Kamala wins, then Trump doesn't win. It's literally just those two. RFK left being independent for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Because he had no chance of winning. Bernie didn't, whatever, because they had no chance of winning. It's only going to be two people. It's not going to, in the UK, it's not going to be the Green Party or the Lib Dems. It's only going to be, at least up to now, the Reds or the Blues. That's all it's going to be, people. So when you're looking at these people, who do you think is best placed to roll out policies that may benefit you? If you think that's Kamala, good on you. If you think that's Trump, good on you. Again, I made it clear, I'm not an American, so it doesn't affect me directly. But when I looked at both of them, as somebody externally, again, I don't care for both of their personalities. I don't care. None of them are my friends. None of them will probably ever meet me in life. But if a Biden administration, right, from 1994 again, just so that people have the history, right, is putting in policies that decimated black families. Ask people from New York. Ask people, right, destroyed black families. Comes into power, then tells me, obviously I'm not in America, but tells black people, if you don't vote for me, you are not black. Then tells me, Obama comes up and says, vote for Kamala, and basically implies you should be voting for Kamala because you're black. Right? Then put Kamala in front, who's more Indian than she is black, and telling me she's black, pushing all of this stuff in my face. Then you've got somebody else on the other side. So I don't even like that, right? Then you've got somebody on the other side who's talking about African countries, talking about this, that, and the third, overt with maybe his bigotry or whatever it may be. So both sides are things that you don't like, but at least you feel like he might be a bit more confident, or at least you might feel a bit more confident in his management of the economy. He speaks with more authority than Kamala, for example. He gives you more confidence in that he's going to get things done. Plus, he's got the experience because he's been in office before. Why the hell do you think this is about, oh, I like Trump more, or I support? Even if I did, so what? You guys have seen me go up to the top of a hill and die on the top of it. Pardon me, nobody's assassinated me yet. Never going to happen. But you guys have seen me go up to the top of a hill and be prepared to stand there alone on many different issues. Please don't say Emmanuel should do certain things with chess. I do it with chess every single day I'm on the show. I don't need support from nobody. I'm pretty sure the last 2.5 years has proven that. At least it should have done. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, and I guess this has always been my agenda from the very top of the show, is just to say, black people, let's not be tethered to a particular side. Because I believe, personally, just my humble opinion, each side does not care for you. Each side puts you at the very bottom of the totem pole when it comes to making economic decisions. They do not care for you. Whether that's because they are racist or whether it's because we are the smallest population in these particular lands. They just don't care. I'm simply saying, vote for whoever, or at least consider whoever you think will put out policies that may benefit you, that may make the ground a bit more fertile for you to grow certain things and improve the overall quality of life for yourself, for your family, and your communities. All this personality politics, or I like Kamala more, and or I like Trump less, and I like Corbyn, and all of this doesn't matter. Are they competent? Are they going to roll out things that's going to benefit you directly? If not directly, indirectly, whatever way. But liking people and saying he's opportunistic, he's a bigot and all of that, self-serving, or he might be all of those things. But will he put certain things in place that benefit you? You have to do some of your history as well. None of these people's history is squeaky clean. And I'm pretty sure that's the case for every single one of us, talking and listening to the show. You know what I'm saying? But who's going to get the job done? And I think that's the main thing that should matter to people. All the other stuff does not matter. It really doesn't matter. We've seen countries side with other countries on particular issues and then not side with them on other issues. You can't just say because I dislike. I'm pretty sure, again, most African people, in fact, let me not say most African people, myself, I at least subscribe to more traditional family values, right? Man and woman in the house, both parents in the house, traditional marriage, things of that nature. I'm pretty sure there are far right people out there who are racist KKK people who also subscribe to that. They go to church every single Sunday. You may not believe that they're true Christians, but they will tell you that they are. Those views will overlap. Does that mean I should change my views because in this particular area, we believe the same thing? Surely we can't navigate life that way. Surely. We'll just be doing all of this stuff. And maybe this is why we have no results, because we do all of this stuff. Guys, man, let's think about ourselves first and foremost, man. It's nothing to do with, you know what I mean, who likes us more. None of them like you. None of them like you. And even if one of them liked you far more than the other, can they do something that's going to benefit you? It's literally that simple. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Brent. Let's go into the headlines. We got a good topic of the day for you guys. All right, people. So our first topic of the day, Rupert Murdoch's news group, newspapers, NGN, apologized to Prince Harry for hacking his phone and intruding into his personal life, as well as for the impact of his late mother, Diana, Prince of Wales. NGN, again, the news group newspapers, right? They acknowledged unlawful conduct by private investigators hired by the Sun. The company offered Harry substantial damages and a full apology, admitting wrongdoing for the first time. The settlement avoided a trial and damaging testimony about phone hacking and other unlawful methods used by the NGN. Harry's lawyers plan to accuse senior NGN executives of purging emails about wrongful practices. Executives include James Murdoch, Rebecca Brooks, and Will Lewis, and they all denied wrongdoing. The settlement avoided heavy financial risk for Harry, who would have had to pay legal costs of both sides unless the court awarded him a similar amount to the settlement offer. Next headline, and the Royal Navy monitored the Russian spy ship Yanta after it entered British waters. Defence Secretary John Healey stated that the Yanta was used for gathering intelligence and mapping the UK's critical underwater infrastructure. He called the incident an example of growing Russian aggression and sent a strong message to President Putin. Russia describes Yanta as an oceanic research vessel operated by its Ministry of Defence. Western nations have often tracked Yanta in European waters, suspecting it of mapping undersea cables. Yanta is equipped with surveillance tools and can operate submersible drones to reach the ocean floor. Undersea infrastructure is vital for energy supply and internet traffic. And the last headline, just a reminder of what we spoke about when it actually happened. And President Joe Biden posthumously pardoned Marcus Mosiah Garvey Jr., who is a key figure in the civil rights movement, advocating for black nationalism and self-reliance. Self-reliance, economic self-reliance, do for self, not beg a particular side, right? Garvey founded the UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, in 1914, promoting black nationalism and economic independence. Garvey's efforts included a Black Star Line, which is a black-owned passenger line for Back to Africa movement and various economic enterprises. Despite facing criticism and legal challenges, including the controversial mail fraud conviction in 1923, Garvey's vision spurred a global movement. Biden's clemency also included Don Scott, Ravi Ragbir, Kimber Smith-Pradia, and Darrell Chambers, who have all become advocates for various reforms. Garvey's legacy, though controversial, continues to inspire movements like the Nation of Islam, the Black Power movement, and the Rastafari movement. The White House highlighted Biden's commitment to civil rights through significant legislative achievements and executive actions to foster racial equity. Biden's record on equity and justice, marked by these pardons, is seen as proof of his dedication to build a more inclusive America. Garvey's pardon is viewed as a correction of historical injustices and a powerful affirmation of his enduring influence on Black empowerment and self-determination. And that's it for headlines. Let's get into our topic of the day. All right, people. So, topic of the day. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys saw. Basically, Elon Musk addressing a particular crowd. Brent, there's a second clip in there. Can you put that on the screen, please? So, for those who did not see, and Elon Musk basically, he made a gesture, and it's got the entire world talking. And many said it was a Nazi salute. Right, which has obviously got everybody thinking, what the hell is going on here? Who have we allowed in office and who's his friend that he's brought with him, right? Because obviously during this whole campaign, we had the left, the Democrats, and a lot of liberals saying that these guys are far rights, they're fascists, they're this, that, and the third, Nazis, they're Hitler, all of this sort of stuff. So when you see this, it didn't seem like the best sort of image. Brent, when you saw this image, what did you think, though?
When I saw the video?
Yes, pardon me, when you saw the video.
I didn't think anything other than he's excited. Obviously, before he made this particular salute, he was jumping up and down, he was punching the air, he was moving erratically, or he was just being Elon on the stage. I don't think he's all the way right up there, and he doesn't present himself as the majority of the other individuals on this planet Earth. So when I now saw the frozen image, and then I saw the side by side with followers of Hitler. I was like, whoa, I know what they're going to do tomorrow. And so said, so done.
So you definitely didn't see it as him saluting in a Nazi.
I definitely did when
you saw the side by side.
Side by side. I'm like, hey, that's uncanny. And I never knew there was a touch the heart and then salute thing. Because I've never really studied this gesture.
Yeah.
So when I saw it and it was identical, I was like...
No, but that's not true. The Nazis don't always touch their heart thing.
Okay.
What, in the clip you saw, that's how it was?
Yeah, all of them. There was a bunch of men. Some of them had those ballys on. Some of them were barefaced, and some of them had hoods on. And they touched their hearts, and then they saluted.
Well, I put in a video to a link so that people can actually see it in motion. Yeah, I mean, over the years, I've seen Hitler and many of the Nazi supporters just do the arm thing. It's always been. I've
seen that too.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it necessarily means, it's side by side. Me personally, anyway, when I saw it, if I'm being honest, I didn't think it was a Nazi salute. I thought it was very similar, and I thought, what the hell are you doing? But it is what it is, man. I think over generation. Oh, here we go.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm like, yeah. I could see.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen.
Say again?
I said I could see how they've taken that.
Yeah.
Because it was so full of intent. He even made a woo, like he was like, take it. Look.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
And the thing is, then thought, when it is a sort of side by side, I then thought, this guy is a brilliant man. He has a brilliant mind, and I think 99.9% of the time he knows what the hell he's doing, right? And he's one of the biggest trolls ever. He's also intellectually dishonest. That's another time we've heard that today. So I told myself, hey, this might even be something in the climate and environment that he's in, that he did that on purpose, right? And then he would just kind of pass it off as, because remember, he's trying to curry favor back with the MAGA crowd because of what it is that he said with the DEI stuff. Like, he wants to hire a whole set of immigrants to basically, cheaper labor, basically. So I believe he could easily be doing this on purpose just to get that back on side. You understand? But I think I am desensitized to the blatant, in-your-face racism at this point, as to why I'm not really too fussed about this.
Okay. I hear you. In that first clip, Brent, if you don't mind, can you go to like the second or the third slide? So it's not the video one, it's the other one that you first put up. And I want to see, I want to see what people think about this, because obviously, like Brent said, there is footage of some Nazis doing the whole hand on the chest thing and then putting the hand up. Many people, though, there's ample footage out there, people just doing this. So if that's the case, how do we feel about images like this?
No, this is nothing. This is stupid. This part here is stupid. This
Why?
freeze frame thing is stupid. Because that's like an address. They're talking and they put their hands up.
Yeah.
And you can pause anything when you do that.
Yeah,
if I
of
do
course.
that, go away, and you pause it there, I'm now Hitler's acolyte.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing here.
But I think that's part of the point for him, because he's seeing it as, if you just take the video just showing me like this, but not also showing the context, talking about from my heart and all this sort of stuff here, then it could look worse than it is. So if I did the same thing, anybody could be portrayed as whatever you want it to be. You know what I'm saying? This is why he said in that clip, I think it was a reply to somebody's post, enough with this whole Hitler stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody could be anything if you want it to be, if you want it to look that way. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man.
I don't know. I said I don't know because of the video I saw with a group of people doing the same thing, and they were all Nazi sympathizers. Let me try and find it.
Okay. Tracy in the chat, big up Tracy. She said, "How do Jewish people feel about it?" It's interesting that you said that, yeah. And Tracy, I hope you put a comment, a response to this in the chat. Why do you care about what Jewish people think about it? Why is Jewish people at the forefront of your mind? And why are they, I'm assuming, just from your comment, I could be entirely wrong, why are they maybe the authority on what this means? Yes, Brent, what's that?
All right, so this is the the videos here. You said that most times you see just Hitler just doing.
No, just even the normal Nazi supporters, they'll just be like this.
All right, so who's the top left?
I can't see, that screen is too small.
Oh, turn the other one to you, please.
Yeah.
Let me try and make it bigger too.
That's Hitler, man.
Yeah. He's unmistakable. His branding is on point. All right. As you can see, where he starts and where the rest of them start. Look at the bottom right. The bottom right is the video I saw that they put next side by side. It's all of them are doing the same thing, yeah. You understand? So I'm seeing this and I'm saying, look, you know where you are, Elon.
Yeah.
You know exactly where you are. You know you're down bad a little bit because of what you did, right?
Yeah.
So let me play the bumbling fool like Boris Johnson. Do this.
Yeah.
And then gaslight people afterwards.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know there are going to be people who are going to help me gaslight everybody. And ADL even did the same thing. They came out and said, nah, this ain't nothing.
Yeah.
This ain't nothing. And yeah, all the rest of the commentators and whatnot, even Piers Morgan, are telling everybody that that's nonsense. I mean, it's not nonsense. It's clear as day. And he's brazen enough to do that in the crowd in which it is he is standing in front of, and the people in that room who kind of want the world to see them as reasonable would then turn on the gaslight. 100%. That gaslight is so ironic. This is crazy. I'm using this. Crazy scenes. Bloody hell. Not bad. Anyway, so that's this is my processed thoughts.
All right, I want to play a clip. It's a YouTube clip, so you won't be able to play it. So I'll just play the audio. And this is basically from somebody on LBC, right? She's in the studio and she's making her comments on the Elon Musk salute.
He was so excitable that his hand sprung out in a way that was, he is so incredibly clever that he did something supremely nuanced, which is all the things that Richard said about sending this kind of subliminal dog whistle gesture to those that know what I'm doing up, but actually I'll dress it up as something silly. Because would I be so stupid as to make this the point of conversation at the heart of the inauguration? If I was a betting man, I would say no, it wasn't, because I just don't. I think there are better ways to make that kind of level of conversation heard. I didn't feel offended by it, and believe me, there is an awful lot to be not only offended but feared by when you're Jewish.
So she's Jewish, yeah, and she basically says, "I don't think it's anything to do with the Nazis, man." You know what I'm saying? Why do you think that's the case, though? And do you feel like anybody else would have been afforded that grace? Because based on the images you just showed me, Brent, that looks very, Nazi-ish. You know what I'm saying? Right now I'm thinking, I think this guy just did it to me. I think that's just a straight up Nazi salute. You know what I'm saying? Now that I'm seeing it like that. But I'm also remembering me seeing countless footage of Nazis over the years who just side by side and just do this. It's you know what I'm saying? Not everybody does the heart thing, you know, or the chest thing. You know what I mean? So, but again, looking at it like that.
Well, the originator, quote unquote, the one who made it popular, he put his hand where he put his hand. He saw what you saw.
Yeah. I mean, Demi in the chat, you said, if you know this woman, you know she's chatting rubbish. So what, is she basically prepared to sacrifice her people for her opinion?
I don't think she's sacrificing the people.
But you know what I'm trying to say? Like, in terms of, is she saying this is okay? She putting that above her Jewishness? But yeah. Yeah, what was the question I asked you, Brent?
The second one was, would they allow others to to apply grace to others who do it or whatnot? I don't know who else has done that in that particular position. So I don't know how to answer that question. Are you saying if a black person did it, would they?
Yeah, I'm asking that question. Yeah.
Is this black person? Have they been installed as a shill, as a puppet?
Boy,
are they erratic? Can you give another explanation to that particular presentation to them? I mean, what are we doing here? Is it identical?
Exactly the same.
With his character as well, or?
So imagine just a black Elon Musk. So let's just say somebody with the wealth of Elon Musk, let's say Jay-Z, for example, obviously not the same sort of views, but he's a black person, loads of authority, high net worth, all that sort of stuff. And he's talking and he does that particular thing. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we know that there's Jewish people with staunch pro-Israel sides on both sides of politics, right and left. Is this a case of just the right kind of supporting Elon because they're on the same side when it comes to other things, which you guys obviously were struggling to understand, where people's agendas overlap? Do you see it that way, or do you see it as, I don't know.
I don't know. I believe that this new government, I told you already, they're not the head of the dog, they're the tail. right? So they don't want any sort of focus on it being this way. So as quickly as possible, let us take people's attention away from that.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't somebody that they installed, if it wasn't the government that they installed and they did this, if this particular person even was against what is happening in Palestine, then 100% they will come down on this person. This person isn't that.
Yeah.
Way inclined.
So basically just...
They need this person to be where they are without the moniker of fascist, racist, and Hitler sympathizer. Because if he's in power in that office, then they're going to say, well, if Trump's keeping him there, what does that say about his mind? So cleanup was necessary immediately. And what better way to clean up than the group that is supposed to be most offended by the salute?
Yes, and that group Brent's talking about is the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL. So they put out a comment and they said, this is a delicate moment. It's a new day and yet so many are on edge. Our politics are inflamed and social media only adds to the anxiety. It seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm. Not a Nazi salute, but again, we appreciate that people are on edge. In this moment, all sides should give one another a bit of grace, perhaps even the benefit of the doubt, and take a breath. This is a new beginning. Let's hope for healing and work towards unity in the months and years ahead. This is, I'm not going to lie to you, Brent, this is diabolical. First, I want to big up Christy, I want to big up Natty as well. Both of them sent me messages basically saying, where's the grace when it came to Kyrie? I said, yeah, this is what I was trying to tell you. Look. And some black people was defending the other side. I was, again, this is one of those hills I was alone by myself on. You know what I'm saying? When I was defending Kyrie. And I was saying, look at how they're trying to denigrate the man, infantilize the man, try and parade in front of the whole world and make him look like an anti-Semite. This man has done, allegedly, the salute that millions did whilst they killed millions of Jewish people. And yet there's grace. Not going to lie to you, Brent, this is diabolical work. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why I say to you people, you have to think about yourself. This is why you have to stop all of this nonsense. Oh, this particular side is better than this side. Oh, this. Let me tell you for free. If this was the left, this was a Kamala Harris administration, and somebody as rich as Elon was on that side, as influential on that side, and they helped get that side into power, and they did the same damn thing, the ADL would have said, you know what, guys, let's give them grace. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt even. Why? Because the ADL don't give a damn about these people's personalities. If they are white, if they align with their particular overall agenda, which is to put the pro-Jewish plight first, right? Or at least keep it as one of the top priorities for that particular government, they are A-OK. That's a fact. Black people, though, if the person said this about African countries, or this, just stop with the childish nonsense, man. You have to understand who's on your side and who's not on your side. And I think the best way is to have the default position of none of them are on your side. And I think this is glaringly obvious to everybody now. Like, focus on what's in front of you, man. You know what I'm saying? They have made these exceptions for a particular reason. This is the reason why they get particular things and we don't. And we start talking from way back in the back of the room, talking about, you know what, we need to get this and we need to get that. Nothing changes for us because we do politics like children. This is what we do. People are more concerned about people's bloody personalities and what they say instead of what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like all of this doesn't mean anything. And even when they do something, look, they can make exceptions. You know what I'm saying? Look, Menelik said Kyrie was wilding though. The Black Israelite stuff needs to stop. No, it don't need to stop, man. Why should he have to stop his belief system? Why? Because you don't subscribe to his belief system? No? But yet Elon Musk can put his hand up and all this sort of stuff? And what did Demi say? Okay, wait, E-Man thought anybody in this chat was in support of the ADL. When did I say it? ADL, look, Demi, you're my brother, please relax. I never said anybody in chat was in support of the ADL. I'm basically saying the ADL will support whoever is in alignment with their overall plight and agenda. They don't care about what they do. You've got somebody here who is supporting pro-Jewish rights, by the same time putting up Nazi salutes, and they said, give him grace. Nazi salutes, you know. Kyrie said, in fact, Kyrie didn't even say nothing. He posted a link for people to go and look at the belief systems of Black Hebrew Israelites. And they called him anti-Semitic and gave him a 5-point plan to change his damn life and give $500,000 to Jewish causes and go and visit the Holocaust museums. And you people are sitting there talking nonsense. This is what I'm trying to say to you people. This is why Black people need to stop the childish politics, man. Focus on yourself, economic self-reliance, and then we'll be further in life, man. And this is a case in point for you. Case in point for you. But I said, what? Nah, man, these are your boys. Two of my boys, though.
Chomping them.
So I'm going to defend Nazi salutes. Did Adolf Hitler come into Nigeria and start taking people? I don't understand what we're doing there. I'm not invested in this like this. I'm just trying to make you guys see a point. But again, you refuse to see the point. That's fine. So does E-Man not see that he sounds... Do you see what I'm saying? Now I'm sounding condescending. I can't win.
To be honest, I'm interested in how you've made them comparable.
Tell me what you.
Because I don't think Elon did what Kyrie did. Did he, Emmanuel?
He did far worse. Far worse.
You think so?
Brent, you've showed us footage.
No, but Mama, I told you that this guy is a strange
No,
fella.
that's your opinion, right?
I think everybody believes he's a strange fella.
I understand. But people, I seen a clip on LBC saying either that's a blatant Nazi salute or he's an idiot, right? that's it. Binary options, right? People are saying that's a blatant Nazi salute. You showed us images, Brent, of Adolf Hitler doing the exact same things, same tempo, same direction, same everything, same arm, same hand, everything, right? As this man. I'm simply saying to you, if that was a black man, if that was somebody else that did not have any views that aligned, right, that overlapped with the views of pro-Israel people, they would have crucified this guy with the quickness. And then I liken it to the fact that Kyrie Irving, right, put out a tweet, didn't make a comment, just retweeted something from a Black Hebrew Israelite group that said that they are the true Hebrew Israelites, which is what people believe. And he was told he's an anti-Semite. They embarrassed this man for weeks on end in front of the world. They gave him a 5-point plan. They told him to give money to Jewish causes. They told him to go to the Holocaust Museum and do a bloody walkthrough to understand the pain of Jewish people, as if African people haven't had their Holocaust. What are we doing there?
So if you see it as the same thing, then why do you think they've pardoned him or given him grace?
I'll tell you, I don't see it as the same thing. Again, I see it as worse, Brett.
Yeah, worse. Sorry.
Right. So
sorry,
I
apologize.
all right then, right? Why have they pardoned him? Because their views overlap with the ADLs. Elon Musk's views overlap with ADL.
Overlap?
Elon, yeah.
How do you mean?
As in, he's in support of Trump, and they have pro-Israel views.
Okay.
That's what it is. ADL's pro-Israel, pro-Jewish. Trump and Elon pro-Jewish, pro-Israel. So because they're on the same side, because they believe that they're going to push that agenda of Israel, you right? They're supportive of it. They're telling the world, give him grace. We appreciate that you guys care for us, but give him grace. Nobody wanted to give Kyrie Irving grace, though, for posting a link that wasn't even directed at Jewish people, or so-called Orthodox Jews. This was about Black people saying, this is where we find ourselves in the scripture. We believe we are the original children of Israel. And everyone got up in arms and said, the man is anti-Semitic. What are we doing there? I don't understand what's going on.
So you definitely do think that it was a Nazi salute?
It looked very much like a Nazi salute, Brent.
No, we know what it looks like.
Yeah.
We saw the side by side.
Personally,
Before you didn't know that they touched their heart and then do
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right?
No.
You thought it was just a straight up in the air.
No, before I thought it was a mixture of both. I didn't think that you needed to have that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think you need to. Again, I'm pretty sure there's countless images of people just being like this and doing that. Just like that. You find it yourself. There's loads of it. There's millions of these people doing this. So I'm saying I don't think it's a prerequisite to have the chest thing. But when you showed it to me, Hitler and other people doing it, I'm thinking, wow, this looks very Nazi salutish. You know what I'm saying?
So what should Trump do? What should your guy do now that you've realized that his agenda is ADL's agenda.
What should he do?
You're. I should stop saying you're a big fan of Trump because you deny that, right? Right?
Yeah, what? That I'm a supporter of Trump?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I'm a supporter of anybody that will put things in place that will benefit black people. That's it.
And right now it's Trump, yeah?
I think he'll put more things in place, yes.
Okay. So, provided, even though he's pro-Israel,
Yes.
pro-Zionist,
Yes. Like the other side, but yes.
pro-ADL,
Well-
pro-anti-Kyrie.
I don't know if he's anti-Kyrie.
You don't think he's anti-Kyrie?
I've never heard him say anything about Kyrie. So I have no reason to think he is.
Oh, okay. That's where is your
I have no reason to think
the deduction stops.
that. he might be
Interested.
he might be anti Kyrie.
Okay.
But if I was to draw from certain period in Trump's life when he was giving loans to black people to start businesses and telling them, don't worry about paying me back, I could say he's pro-black. What are we doing there? We're just picking and choosing stuff. And this is what I'm saying, it's childish.
Is it just us that's picking and choosing, or are you also doing the same
I'm
thing?
saying everybody does.
All right,
but,
cool.
but when
Good,
I'm
good,
doing
good,
it,
good.
people say, oh, no. No, be consistent and understand people do things in their own self-interest. I say all the time, when I quote Adam Smith on the show, I say, it's not out of the benevolence of the baker or the butcher that you get your bread or your meat. It's because of self-interest. If the baker didn't gain anything from selling meat to you or selling, bread to you, and the butcher didn't gain anything from selling meat to you, he wouldn't be selling it to you. It's self-interest. The moment people wake up and recognize that people gain everything from every action, or at least they should be trying to do so, then your eyes will be open to the world.
So we have
It's
a
that
comment.
simple.
Thank you. We have a comment here. It's only been 2 days and this video has aged terribly. He's talking about the one yesterday.
Okay.
Not yesterday, the day before yesterday. We didn't have a show yesterday. Has aged terribly. President Donald Trump has revoked Executive Order 11246, originally signed by Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965, which prohibited discrimination in employment based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, and mandated affirmative action. So I think this person's saying 1 day in office and he's already basically done something that will negatively impact the black community.
Okay. What does that mean?
I think
It's not gonna negatively impact all black people. And do you know what would have been better? You guys would just tell me I'm moving the goalposts. If black people started to do what Elijah Muhammad said, what Marcus Garvey said, and did for self, had their own businesses, then the DEI stuff and the stuff they sign in the executive orders wouldn't affect us. But because you guys think the government's there to help you, this is why we are at the end of these.
So he's done a
things.
bad thing, Emmanuel?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're waiting until you see.
100%. And I don't know the demographic that's going to affect the most. He doesn't subscribe to DEI. There are plenty of black people who don't either.
No, don't do that. Just focus on what.
No, you can't say don't do that, Brent. Because what you're doing is you're trying to
this is
isolate
what
to
Demi
Trump.
keeps saying you do.
I don't care what Demi says. What happened? What happened?
No, it was just with Vim. That was. I didn't expect that. Didn't expect it. Let me get off the topic of Demi. Sorry, I didn't know it was going to trigger you like that.
I'm not triggered by nothing, man.
Okay.
I'm simply saying it's got nothing to do with these things, right? Stacey made a point the other day about, granted, to give her grace, right? She said, don't use this as her main point, innit? But she was basically saying something along the lines of, again, I may be butchering this, that Trump is going to change certain things about making sure people work at the actual workplace and not from home anymore. And when you consider the fact that black people a lot of us come from single parent households where we have to manage costs and we can't always afford to go into work, that particular change of the law will affect black people the most. And that's anti-black, basically. What are we doing there? What are we doing there? If a businessman says, I need you to work in the office because I believe, as the businessman, your employer, right, I think I can get more from you from working in the office. You can't say that's anti-black. Unless everybody in the office is black, which is unlikely the case, because then you wouldn't be fighting for representation, right? Then what are we doing there?
I think you have support.
There's going to be things that overlap, Brent.
I think you've won the chat. Look,
what happened?
I'll just give you a comment.
Okay, big up. E-Man, the Econ brother, operate from economics and we'll have the leverage to do as we please. Don't be trampled over. This is
The
facts.
first time this person's ever posted.
Well, it's not me. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
So-
it's you.
no, what I'm trying to say is not me typing to support myself. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? They obviously see what I'm saying. I'm basically saying to people is, I hear that some things Trump's going to put in place that you guys may not like, but I'm saying both sides will do that. And I think both sides probably put things in that you will like. Both sides. But please do not confuse that with thinking that they care about you.
There's another one.
The agenda is... I feel sorry for E-Man. A lot of his audience is emotional. Don't worry, man. Don't worry, man. Like they say, if you see me in a fight with the bear, feel sorry for the bear. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to say to them. All I'm trying to say to black people is don't be tethered to a political party. Don't be focused too much on what they say. Please focus on what they do and focus on how competent you think they are at carrying out the things they're going to do. That's what I'm trying to say to you. And I don't think it's right for us to say that black people are stupid, they're racist, they're sexist, they're misogynist because they support Trump. Some people just see him as more competent than Kamala, for example, or more competent than Biden. We can't be so binary in our thinking. We have to understand people are going to do certain things for their own self-interest. It's about time you start doing that. Instead of looking to your so-called oppressor who you're complaining about every single day for the time they're in office, asking them for something to do for you. It just doesn't make sense.
There's another one.
Hello, I can't hear anything.
God damn it.
I must be delusional, but I don't think E-Man's stance has changed. His reasonings, even if you don't agree, always go back to do for self. That's exactly it. Big up, Ree. That's exactly it. I'm saying, black people, let's rely on ourselves. Our greatest teachers have been telling us this since the early 1900s. Do for self, and then we won't be in this position. This is why, again, I was talking about MLK. I love MLK. Pick up MLK, right? But when he was fighting for integration, what we lost was our dependence on ourselves. We said, we want to fight for the right to be in white hotels, white schools. And what do? We abandoned having black hotels, black schools, black restaurants. And now we're there petitioning for representation. We want to be waiters and integrate in restaurants when we had our own restaurants that we could have been waiters in, our own hotels that we could have slept comfortably in. This is what happens, man. White people's ice is not colder than ours. Understand, people. Think.
Good morning, Christy.
Morning.
Good morning, Christy.
Sorry. Another first typer.
Oversimplifying human life to a zero-sum game obscures the nuance of human relations. Okay.
All right. What are your views, Christy? Sorry.
I'm not even. I can't. I don't have the energy for E-Man's the point where he loses me. I genuinely don't have the. I don't have the energy because we did it for 5 hours the day before yesterday. My only point is, what I don't like is, if we're doing for self,
yeah,
I'm not going to talk on Trump. Period. I'm not going to say anything to say that his policies are going to be better for black people. If I'm for do for self, I don't need to mention him at all. And I don't need to mention even the other side.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't understand this point of, because I feel like you're saying he's going to do the betterment, but then you're saying do for self. I believe in the do for self. And I believe the people that you mentioned, Marcus Garvey, even your Nation of Islam guy, Farrakhan, he would also say he would do the do for self, but he's not mentioning Trump. He's not going to say Trump, now that Trump is in the office, is going to act on policies that's going to be better for us. He's only going to focus on the point that we as black people need to do for self. So I don't get this. I don't get you even mentioning. If you say you don't care, then I don't see the point in mentioning him.
The reason why, is because when it comes to doing for self, what I'm basically saying is, I know that I'm talking to black people who predominantly are Labour supporters, are Democrats, right? And so I'm trying to present the other side. I'm basically saying, guys, the other side might be better. Not necessarily because they care about us. I'm telling you, my default position is none of them care about us. But I am saying if any of them can put certain things in place, this is the reason why I mention the Tories. This is the reason why I mention Trump. Because simple example, for example, we've got an amazing guest today, and we're going to get into some amazing things, But if, for example, I'm trying to buy a property, and stamp duty is high, and I don't have the money, I now have to save an extra year and a half or extra 2 years because of stamp duty, these changes to legislation. But the Tories can put something in place that lowers stamp duty, for example, yeah, and makes it easier for me to buy a second property, which basically means it's easier for me to spark generational wealth, right? Which basically means it's easier for everyone in the room, you talking to me on the phone, all of us listening, to get wealth, to actually get on the property ladder and start the beginnings of wealth. The same thing we talk about every single day. If they reduce corporation tax from 25% to 20%, it means it's easier for us to pool our resources to actually start a business. I'm not saying like him. I'm simply saying that's going to make it easier for black people to start businesses and be self-sufficient, that's who you should vote for. Don't vote for the person who's going to have you feeding from their hand, that's going to have you dependent. I'm not talking about that. This is the reason why I'm mentioning these people. That's the only reason why I mention them. That's it. I'm saying do for self. But since we are doing for self in a land which is not ours, what policy can be put in place that will make it easier for us to do for self? That's the only reason why I mention Trump or Kamala or Biden and these people. That's the only reason why I'm doing it. I don't support nothing. I support the black party, not the blue or the red, the black. That's what I support.
Okay. And for me,
yeah,
maybe I'm not, I don't know what word to use. If I'm doing for self,
yeah,
whether or not Trump is in power or whether or not whoever, I'm not American or whatever, I'm just saying, whoever's in power, I'm still going to have the mentality of do for self regardless.
Good.
So again, to me, the do for self is a standalone point.
Yeah, it can be. But for people who are not versed with it, for people who need assistance, you have to highlight the importance of choosing
if I have the mentality, I'm generally for do for self.
Yeah.
I cannot be looking to be like, oh well, Trump is going to do something.
Yeah.
Or whether Kamala is going to do something. I'm going to do it regardless because I'm do for self, right?
Yeah, but Chrissy, that doesn't make sense though. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you yourself, we know about you. We know that you go to a black-owned stores and you're prepared to pay extra, right? To support black businesses, right? Cool. If that extra, though, was a whole 100% extra, would you be able to do it as much? So if you paid £5 for cocoa butter in Tesco, but then to support the black-owned business, right, you had to pay £10 for the cocoa butter, would you do it as often?
I would do it regardless.
Fine. Other people who may not be in the same financial boat, would they be able to do it as often? The answer is no. But if, you know what I'm saying? So if a particular person could put something in place, which means that the black person who owns that business can lower the cocoa butter, so it's easier for those of us who earn average earnings and less to shop there, isn't that better for the community? That's why I'm mentioning it. Do you know what I'm saying? So for someone like you who would do it regardless, beautiful. But for those of us who maybe need some economic incentive, right? It will be better. That's all I'm talking about. Forget who is in office. Forget the face. Forget the history. Are they going to do something that's going to be beneficial for black people? That's what I'm saying. But people are caught up in what we used to do as voting. People are caught up in, oh, I think this person has a nicer personality. Oh, all of that is childish, man. That's what I'm trying to say. It's 2025.
No, I in terms of personality, whatever, that's fine. But I'm not gonna all the way dismiss it because also personalities can also influence policy. No, someone's personality or their self-serving also can influence the policies that they make, right?
Of course it can.
So I don't think it's just to throw away and just be like, I don't like the person.
Yeah, but you have to look at the policy. I'm saying if the personality changes the policy, fantastic. Don't vote for them. But if the personality doesn't influence the policy and the policy can still better us, vote for that person. That's
because for me, with when Biden was office and then he was quick to pass the Asian hate bill. On the other side, what has Trump done to
the what bill? Sorry,
the Asian hate bill. When he was quick to pass that. The Asian hate bill.
Okay.
When Biden was quick to pass that, and people criticizing, and rightly so. Because black people in America didn't get no bill passed quickly.
Of course not.
So, but on the other side, what has Trump done to even counteract that? if it's for the betterment. I'm just saying, what on the other side, what has he done to counteract that?
Okay, cool.
If Biden did the Asian hate bill, and that definitely, I feel like, again, you was quick to rush to that. I'll condemn that totally. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't anything. What has Trump done? Because to me, again, I'm just from outside looking in. I'm not. No side to me is even entertaining the fact and the point of reparations.
Yeah, but again, Christy, remember this is what I'm trying to say. I don't think any side will. I don't think the right or the left will give black people in America reparations. And if they do, it won't be because they're benevolent, amazing, God-fearing people. It'll be because black people fought for it. That's what it is. And this is what I'm trying to say to you. But you're in a better position to fight for something when you own stuff, because then you can lobby for change. But if you're out there begging a handout, you can't do crap. And this is what we've seen. And whilst we are begging for crap, our families are being destroyed by the welfare state. I'm just saying, guys need to wake up. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying Trump is a pro-black guy. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying, if, for example, he's more competent to fix the economy, then perhaps black people will be able to make their money stretch. So then we won't need to go to welfare state as much. Then we won't need to start, suffering and our kids not have certain things. That's what I'm trying to say to you. There's certain things that many of us in the community are suffering from because the economy is just hard. That's just everybody, though. That's just everybody. But if somebody's just going to keep pandering and tell you, we're going to give you this and give you this, and then you don't understand economics, and don't understand that that's causes inflation because they don't have the money, so they're just printing more, and then recognize that that's going to chop away at your wages, but they're giving you £100 or £1,000 stimulus check. You don't understand. You're paying for the £1,000 anyway, and you're just clapping. Just like being back home when they give us bags of rice to vote for them. But we don't see the connection. That's what I'm trying to highlight to people. They don't want you here, and they don't care. Black Americans got there solely because of free labor. You think it's going to change around and they're going to start doing things for our betterment? There will never be a direct policy that helps black people directly like that. Or at least I don't think so. Obama, the black president, got there and didn't do anything directly for black people. Why are we expecting Trump to? Don't move the goalposts. I'm simply saying whoever is in power, none of them will put us at the top of their economic decisions. None of them. I am simply saying whatever they do, though, see who's going to do certain things that's going to make us benefit the most so that we can better benefit ourselves. That's what I'm trying to say.
Morning, Jackie. Good morning, Stacey. And there's a comment on the screen,
morning.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just say something, please?
Yeah.
Shadow Moses. First of all, spell my name right.
Oh, man.
Also, you always like to have this energy for me any single time I say something. I don't have this energy just for Trump. If you was here long enough, you would know that. I don't give a fuck about Trump, and I don't give a fuck about Kamala. So please.
Don't worry.
If you've been here before, you would know I've also criticised Kamala. So please. I've said it on my chest. So please.
Act like you've been here before.
Please.
Street.
Oh.
Good morning.
Morning. Just to highlight E-Man's point. I think we're misunderstanding his point. If we all had a business,
give us some clarity.
If we all had a business, if I had a fish and chip shop, if E-Man had a tuition business, if Chrissy had a hair shop, Stacey had an online clothes shop, even if my products were 10% more, I know that if you buy from me, I will buy from you. But because not enough of us have a business, our money can't go around that much. The only black businesses I know right now are hair shops and food shops, whether it's shops with produce or actual restaurants. That's the only one. I can't, and maybe tuition businesses. But I'll give Ghana as an example. In Ghana, my dad has a shop. His customers are now his friends, but he can patronize them equally as much as they patronize him. So when we were buying curtains, we went to his friend. When we were buying, we were looking for a carpenter, we went to his friend. When we were looking for tiles, we went to his friend. Can you see that we've gone, obviously it's a black country. However, it's also people in his networks. But he has somebody in his networks that he can purchase from and patronize from. The curtains we bought were super expensive, but it was like, oh, that's my friend. I have lunch with her, so I've got to buy from her. That's my friend. But we don't have enough of that in the West. Whereas, oh, that's my friend. That's my friend. So therefore, I need to patronize her. So it's not fair enough to say, just because Chrissy's black, I don't know Chrissy, I've got to buy from her and it's 50% more. That's unfair on us. It's too sentimental. However, the Jewish community and other communities are able to do that because guess what? They can put back into their personal economy as well. Let's not get it twisted and think that Jewish people love each other all this like as much as black people. Humans are humans everywhere. Indians don't love each other more than black people, but because they're able to patronize from each other, their money and they can support each other, it just makes sense. So as Iman's saying, because we prayed and begged for integration so much, we want to see at the table. We're the only people, minority group, that are fighting for this cause of inclusivity in terms of when it comes to ethnicity. I'm not talking about the other exclusive groups, but we're the only ones, and they love piggybacking off of us because they know we'll fight for those things. Meanwhile, they're busy patronizing each other. They're busy building businesses. I'll give another example. I've got an Arab, she's not Arab, she's Egyptian. Her in-laws are Persian, and they've moved to America. Her brother and the wife is Persian. They've moved to America. I was like, well, how are they doing? She's like, they're doing amazing because the Persian community patronize each other. They make sure they support each other. They're not looking for no white person to come and help them. They're not looking for handouts. They're not even asking for that because guess what? Whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's Clinton, they don't care. They're focused on what they're doing. And Iman's point is, if person X will allow us to build our business and grow our community, we don't care about what the other things he's saying because it's fraff. We're not trying to get them to put DEI, diversity, inclusion, in the office because guess what? We're buying real estate. Because guess what? We're opening restaurants. We're doing all these things.
Quickly debunk that?
Wait, can you let her finish, please?
I'm not talking about America. America's completely different because guess what? The whites and the blacks came at the same time, so they're equally there. They're equally allowed to claim their rights. I'm never talking about African Americans because that's none of our story. Because they actually deserve a seat on the table. That's their land. But I'm talking about other ethnicities where 2 generations ago, we came from somewhere. And that's why I always compare us to Indians and Arabs and all the others who also came on a plane. No one begged us to come. We came. Even Windrush people, we came. So therefore, we're different from the African Americans that they're 400 years in that land. None of us are 400 years in a new land. We've got somewhere to call home. And also, white people as well, white Americans, they're also they don't know where they're from either, unless they're 2-3 generations from there. When we say Irish Americans, they came 3-4 generations. There are settlers that came with the slaves that don't know where they're from. I forgot the name of the term of them, but they equally don't know where they're from. So when we say white Americans know where they're from, because their grandparents were from somewhere. Their grandparents were from Scotland, Poland, or whatever it may be. So they're different. But Iman's point is, do for self. If enough of us think, so when we train our children, go to university, get educated, but start a business. Don't aim to go to no Big 4, Big 5, or whatever it is. Don't aim for that. If you're in the healthcare business, can I support my child to open our own healthcare company? That's the conversation we need to be having. That's the same conversations that other ethnic groups that came the same time of us have. They're not trying to get, and because I think we assume we're the only ones that are discriminated. Indians were heavily discriminated. They have a different accent. They have a different god. Let's not kid that religion unites people. They serve a poly god. The white people laughed at them, looked down on them. They prefer Muslims, the Muslim religion and the Christian religion to the Indian religions where they're multi-theist. Do you get what I'm saying? So those are the things that they had to fight against so many things, but they thought, why do that? Let me just open a shop, a Chinese shop. Let me just open a nail shop. Look at all the Vietnamese nail shops that were back in the days in our communities. They didn't speak a lick of English. Do you think they could have got a corporate job? Or do you think they were super wealthy? No, they said, this is my only way. If I've got to beg, borrow, or steal, I'm going to open this nail shop. And they continued and continued. But us is like, oh, no, we have to try and get a job. Let's see if the manager will get us a raise. They weren't thinking of that. And we just literally always assume that they were given, it was easy for them. It wasn't easy for them. They weren't given handouts. They were also discriminated against. Arabs are also discriminated against. Again, I say that they preferred Muslims, but they also don't like Arabs as well. But because Arabs know that, they're not trying to get a seat at the table. They're not trying to fight for inclusion. Oh my gosh, there's only 4 people in the room. There's only one black person in the room. They don't care. And that's the point Iman's trying to make. If you want to be going corporate, go corporate. But understand that's not going to help us as much as us being the face of our own community. Us knowing that our children can do whatever they want. Rather than our children can also be the CEO of Goldman Sachs. That's not the Indian man's goal. First of all, there's a lot of them anyway. So they can all do different things. But when they come with a mind of growth within their community. That's why when there's a middle class Asian community in the UK, there's a poorer class Asian community in the UK. When they get money, they move to certain areas. Black people, we don't do that. We don't think like that because because there's not enough of us with businesses. So if I have a business, guess where if I've got a Ghanaian restaurant, guess where I'm going to go to? The Ghanaian elite place, environment. That's what Indians do. But yet we don't have that. So therefore there's no one for me to patronize me and then equally rotate the money around.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie,
Stacey,
man.
what's your response, please? Thank you. Share your thoughts.
I just want to ask a question to Jackie and pivot this back to the fact that we were talking about America. What does it take to start a business?
Okay, I went to Atlanta recently, and I promise you, there's so much opportunities there. If I didn't have negative thoughts of America, it would be a potential home. It doesn't take much to start a business. Sometimes we think money, but sometimes just capital. So, for example, if I want to give me an example of a business,
it's a one-word answer.
No, it's not just money. No, it's not just money. No, you can start a business with just a thought, and even if it is money, you can gather money. You don't need all the money to even open a shop and to lease a shop in the UK or even in America. I've seen people go to America with just a normal teaching salary and buy a house. Then they can then regenerate that house. You can then rent the rooms out and do something with it.
You're walking into my point, and I'm gonna show you what I'm going at. To open a business, it takes capital.
No, not always. What type of capital?
Jackie, let's.
It takes.
Go on.
It takes capital, and if capital is something you have, let's say you're going to open a brick and mortar. What does it take? A lease. How do you get capital? Oftentimes, if you don't have it, loans. Who's at the end of that loan? A loan servicer. Are they going to loan to Black people? Probably not. And guess what just got signed today? Discrimination out the window. Race is no longer a protected class. It is no longer illegal for someone to discriminate against you.
So why don't you go to a place where they have Black bankers? So why don't you go to Atlanta? Only Atlanta.
There's not.
No, but I'm not saying Black banks. No. I didn't say that.
Sorry, Jackie. You had a long time to talk. Stacey's getting a shove. Go on.
This thing of E-Man, I don't want to use the words that I used yesterday, like stupid and etc., because I think that distracts from your digestion of my point. But I think that this idea of do for self is very. I'm not worried about the root thing because I know the definitions of words and what they mean, and I use them according to their definitions. I think that when you say things like do for self, oftentimes in the American scope of things, it's very short-sighted, and it's ironic because we had a conversation or topic of the day the other day. We were talking about African Americans versus Africans and how there are things that we don't understand about each other's cultures. And this is one of the things that I feel like my parents raised me to believe that I had to learn, not just through experience and exposure, but just like understanding the history of America as to why that is way easier said than done. I was raised to believe a lot of Black people's problem is that we don't do enough for ourselves. We want to beg and beg and beg for reparations. We want to beg and beg and beg for a seat at the table. We want to beg and beg and beg for all these things, rely on government, all of the rhetoric you just spewed and spewed and spewed. But I think it goes back to that institutional racism and the depth of it that I'm learning that maybe you don't understand it the way you think you do. It is embedded in everything. So when you say things like do for self, yes, we can try, but there will always be a glass ceiling that I think you don't acknowledge. And I don't understand how you don't see that just because someone is choosing to be, I don't want to say politically active, but making a political choice and exercising their civil duty to vote. I.e., in this case, you've acknowledged it's what's the word that you use? We have two options. It's one or the other. That it is not in the interest of self. A straightforward example of that. I'm a woman. It is within my interest to protect my reproductive rights. One candidate is going to be leaning towards my rights than the other. Same with the Republicans. When it comes to things like business, when it comes to things like my employment and the employment practices that protect me versus work against me, that is doing for myself within the political sphere and exercising my vote accordingly. So I get what you're saying, but in practice, it just doesn't make sense. And I think you're not being consistent because you say the whole do for self thing, but then you curtail it again by picking a political party that is the opposite of doing for self.
All right, Stacey.
In the last 48 hours, the first 48 hours of Trump's presidency, he has signed over 100 executive orders. And I said this earlier when you were talking to TJ. I am so interested to see how you choose to cover the things that Trump does within his presidency that is for us and against us. In 48 hours, he's giving you several reasons. Not one of your headlines today was about them. Not one.
Okay, Stacey, I don't want to cut you off here, but we've got an amazing guest in it, and she has to leave at 11. I don't mind us coming back to this afterwards, yeah. But what I will say quickly is, I'm not going to. I have lots of respect for you. You tune into the show every single day. I'm not going to do that ad hominems, right? If you want to, that's fantastic. Number 2.
Hold up. Sorry.
Number 2, yeah. What happened?
Sorry.
Hold on 1 second.
Good morning.
What's going on, Brent?
Hold up. Christelle wanted to call in.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Wait. You're on speaker now, so everyone can hear you, yeah? So you can now speak because you've interrupted the entire stream. You don't want to do it the normal way. You don't want to go to Discord and join the conversation properly. You're now on. You're now on. Say hello to Emmanuel.
Hi, I'm Eman.
Hello, you right? Long time.
I'm good, thank you. Sorry, I don't even know what Discord is. I'm that old. Sorry,
worry.
wait, does this mean I'm on your show right now?
Yes. Everyone can hear you.
Hi, sorry. Whoever Stacey is, I love her, by the way.
Yeah, we all love her. But please,
I absolutely love her.
help her tear Emmanuel's pants, please. Thank you.
We can do this
I
after.
think
Okay, but go on.
what I always find interesting, this language of do for yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's just the new black way of pull yourself up the bootstraps with your bootstraps, which I think is always very interesting language because I think it's language that really disregards history and it really disregards things that Black Americans did do and then was wiped away. Yeah. And the things that even Black British people did do and then was wiped away, right? So it was interesting hearing the woman speak before.
Jackie.
Stacey. And she was talking about Black people starting businesses. Well, again, I think we talk a lot from not a point of history, right? Yeah. In the 70s and the 80s, a lot of Caribbean people started businesses and bought houses. What happened? Gentrification, right?
Redlining.
How do you gentrify something that you own?
No.
Are you dead?
You don't gentrify something that you own. The local authorities and politicians gentrify it.
Okay.
People don't gentrify, right? You as a person, you cannot gentrify an area. Those are government policies, right? That's local authority policies. But look at all the areas that were undesirable 30, 40 years ago and how they're desirable now, right? West London was an undesirable place.
Yeah.
Hence why actually a lot of music companies were there because music was also an undesirable business at a time, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of these quote unquote undesirable places is where Black people owned homes, right? I think a lot of people really take away the fact that statistically Caribbeans are actually the highest numbers of homeowners in the UK because they started early. But gentrification and policies that moved them out of areas, out of West London, out of Shepherd's Bush, out of, all these areas are one of those things. Even looking at Black ownership of businesses, the Caribbean people did have restaurants, they did have shops, they did have pubs, right? They built local communities around them. And what happened? Police raids, right? If anyone wanted to see that in kind of fear, in theatre, I guess, or on TV, the BBC has a whole series on it, right?
Yeah.
Of raids where people were discriminated against all the time. So how could you keep a business when every day you don't know if there was going to be a police raid and if any of the people are going to be arrested? So I think we have a lot of these conversations without any history and context. And then we just start blaming and saying, well, this is why Black people are not far. Yes, I think we could be further, but we've tried. People have tried, you know?
We can
People
try
have
again.
tried
I don't
and
think
they've been.
E-Man is saying that we haven't tried.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that's wrong. I think that's not facts. And I think that's what really irritates me about us as Black people as well, in that we don't speak from a position of facts. We speak from a position of sentiment. And a lot of that sentiment is from white supremacy capitalism, right? So telling Black people to pull themselves up from the bootstraps is a very interesting thing to say to me when they have.
Christelle.
And when they did, Wall Street happened, right?
Christelle, I don't want to cut you. I really don't want to cut you. Are you able to call back after 11?
I have to go to the office, but why? Do you want to carry on this conversation?
Most definitely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah? All right, thank you. All right. Stacey, do you want to wrap up, Stacey?
Hold up, let me just unmute
Or
them.
call back after 11 as well?
Just unmute them.
I think that that caller exactly summed up the point that I was going to get at. Like, there's been examples of do for self.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said you're blatantly ignoring the Tulsa massacre. Like, we have done for self for years and years, and when it comes to making our money circulate, when it comes to owning our own businesses, when it comes to owning our own homes, redlining came. They completely destroyed the Black Wall Street. Like, I think that you're not wrong for wanting us to have that desire to do for self, but I think that the context in which you put it disregards a lot of those things that the likes of the Republican Party and Trump deliberately do or deliberately eradicate to ensure that we are kept exactly where they want us. And I think that there's a way to have that sentiment that you have while also acknowledging the things that they're actively doing, while also recognizing how the other party, i.e. the Democratic Party, isn't doing those things. And that in and of itself is how they better benefit us.
I hear what you're saying. What are you going to say, Brent?
Thank you so far, right? We're going to put a pause in it, put a little pin in this, and we're going to get to our fantastic interview so that we don't disrespect our guests any longer. And we will spin the block. Thank you, thank you very much so far, Stacey, Christy, and Jackie.
Yes, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, BRB.
All right, people. All right, people. As we said, we have an amazing guest. I hope you guys really bring out your pens and your pads. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be disseminated amongst the people, man, that we can all gain from. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Can you let people know your name, please?
My name is Julianah.
Okay.
And brand name is called propertybyjewels.
Okay. Do you want to let the people know a little something about what you do?
Of course. So my name, as I mentioned, is Julianah. I am a property investor and property strategist. That means I provide solutions for people with property. So if you're a first-time buyer, you need a mortgage broker, need a solicitor, I'm there to help. If you are someone who's invested and needs to have strategies for what your next move is, so if you want to go into HMO, service accommodations, I'm your go-to person. I also do property management as well. So I'll teach people how to property manage properties as well. I have a 2 million plus property portfolio at the moment. I have properties in Kent, in East London, Bradford, Yorkshire, Liverpool, Sheffield, and it's a range of HMO, service accommodations, buy-to-lets, development projects. And I've been in property since 2014 now, so coming up to 11 years. And I'm also a mother of 3.
Okay.
I'm a wife. I'm a sister.
All right,
My aim is I just really want to inspire and encourage people to get into property. The same way the conversation you're having, if we're not seen in that space, how would you know it's attainable? People buy people. If I can see someone who looks like me doing it, I'm more likely to want to get into that space and know that I can do it.
Exactly.
So that's me.
I'll be honest with you. Brent knows right now, I'm trying to control myself, right? Because there were certain things you said that, if I'm just going to say it, So basically, with all the things that you said, these are things that you offer. These are services that you offer.
Yeah.
And you're a black person.
Yes.
So I don't need to go to a white person for this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so essentially, you did for self, and I could be doing for self by coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And we've seen this right now in the space of 2 minutes.
He's going to tell people off now.
All right, then. I just wanted to make that clear to people. Because for some reason, we need politicians.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Only Corbyn would have made this happen.
I don't think anybody who's made any comments.
They're going to come shout at you afterwards.
Anything you've said would disagree with what you've just done. I don't know why is it you've used that particular dialogue between both of you all to do anything at all.
Okay, cool.
All right.
The reason why is because it's essential. Because a lot of the time, when I was talking about doing for self, people for some reason said that doing for self essentially is not possible because we need loans, and guess who's making it harder for us to get loans? Yeah. We need services, guess who's making it harder for us to get services? I'm not saying these things are not existing. I'm basically saying that there are people amongst us who are doing these things, and if we really want to do certain things, some of us, not all of us, I'm not trying to say because some of us made it, all of us can make it. I'm not saying that. Some people don't have the entrepreneurial mindset. I understand that, people. Yeah. But what I am saying is, there are still avenues for us to explore that ourselves without external help. That's all I'm trying to say.
And what you said is really important, mindset. I think that's kind of the number one thing. Money is obviously very important. You need money to get a house. But if your mindset is warped, I think it just makes it so difficult for you to even get into that space. If you don't feel like you can do it, if you don't have the diligence, the discipline, the graft to get it won't be in your future because your mindset just will limit you.
Yeah. Well,
and they didn't say it was impossible. They did not say it was impossible.
Right, improbable then. Well, whatever word people want to use then. I say let's just focus on people who are doing it, and let's focus on, that's all I want to say. And obviously, if people want to see this as a negative thing, direct it at me and not the guest, please. Yeah. So before we start anything, we usually do a little Q&A test, right? And it's going to be a mixture of preferences. So it could be like an Amazon Prime versus Netflix sort of thing. So it's just a preference thing, but also some actual facts.
Sure.
Yeah. We're going to give you 1 minute, right? And I would say the best thing to do, the best technique, is if you don't know any answers, if you don't know the answer, pardon me, just say pass. The more you answer, the better chances.
All right, cool. Go for it.
Brent, tell me when you're ready.
Ready. Juliana, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, then. 3, 2, 1.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
What's the largest organ in the human body?
The skin.
How many time zones are there in the world?
50.
Religion or spirituality?
Spirituality.
What's the square root of 144?
12.
Name a lead singer in Drew Hill.
Cisco.
Books or movies?
Books.
What's the boiling point of water in Celsius?
100.
Who was the first black person to win an Oscar for a supporting role?
Sidney Poitier.
Black or African?
African.
What's the fastest land animal?
Cheetah.
How many continents does the equator cross?
I'm not joking. 20.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Non-fiction.
What's the tallest building in the world?
Burj Khalifa.
Who was the first black actor to win an Academy Award?
Sidney Poitier.
Knowledge or power?
Knowledge.
Who wrote the novel Things Fall Apart?
Don't know.
How many months are there in the Gregorian calendar?
Gregorian? 12. What's
Yo,
Gregorian?
Brent, we might have... This is one of the highest standards, I think, you know.
What?
100%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to... before I get excited, I'll calculate afterwards.
Yeah, give me the scores.
Because you only got like a couple wrong.
What's Gregorian?
Under Pope Gregory.
Okay.
He put out a calendar. Basically, it's 12. You're right.
Yes, okay.
So, yeah. Amazing. Okay. I'm going to calculate this after and let you know how well you did.
Good. Is there a league table?
Yes, there is.
Yes, cool. There is. But to be fair, you're the first guest of the year, so you're number one anyway. All right. So, firstly, you mentioned, in fact, you know what? Start at the very beginning. How did you get into property?
So, I got into property. So, I come from humble beginnings, not even to do a violent story, but I grew up with not much at all. Very, very poor. Grew up in Brixton, lived there for 18 years until I went to university. And I didn't have much. Like, we were poor, like cockroaches, and being evicted multiple times. We didn't own anything at all. It was us and my 5 siblings, and we just wanted to leave, to be honest. We just wanted to leave where we were because we knew that wasn't what our future was supposed to look like. Even from a young age, we just wasn't that fortunate. And I knew I wanted to own. So when I left the house at 18 to go to university, that's when I started visiting friends' house, and I would be astonished that their parents actually own something. Like, this is actually yours. Like, no one had to take it away from you. So I just knew that ownership was in my future. I had to own something. So when I left for university, I was renting, and I knew I wanted to own, but renting was just literally a pipe dream, because me paying rent and trying to save for a property, it just wasn't going to happen at all. So I made the decision to go back home to live with my dad.
Okay.
To save money for my first house, because there was no way I was going to get it doing what I was doing. I had to sacrifice something. So it's either you increase your income or you cut back on expenses.
Right.
I had to do the second. I was working in a job after uni that was like 24K. So it's really hard to be able to save that much. So I went back home to live with my dad. Bear in mind, he had remarried. So this was a new person he was living with.
Yeah.
And they had 3 sons. So I had one little room in their place, but thank God he let me stay. I stacked and saved money for 10 months and then bought my property. So that is how I got into it. I just knew I needed to do it. Didn't have the means, so I had to give up something. And
Did you have to get a loan from anybody? Was it solely your own money that you
solely own money that I had saved up? I didn't go nowhere.
Wow.
I literally didn't go nowhere. I had no social life. Had a boyfriend at the time who is now my husband.
Big him up.
Big up Desmond. The only place I went to was his house. Every weekend went to his house because I just needed to get out of that box room.
Yeah.
Went to his house to chill. In the weekends came back to mine, and that's all I'd done. Friends going on holiday, doing the most. I'm watching them through social media thinking I wish that was me, but I'm there now. So, yeah.
What was your first property like?
It was a 2-bed house in Dagenham Heathway.
Okay.
For 170K.
Wow.
Standard ground floor flat, but it was mine and I loved it.
Did you have to do or benefit from Help to Buy scheme? What was it like at the time?
At the time, I got a 5% mortgage,
Okay.
and they're still available now. So when they say it's really hard to get on the property ladder, it can be difficult, but there are ways you can do it. 5% is still possible now. So I had 5%. So whatever 170 is times 5%, that's what I saved up, plus the solicitor fees, mortgage fees, broker fees, to get on my foot on the ladder.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after you got the first property, what made you say to yourself, I want to get another one? Because that to me triggers the entrepreneurial mindset. It could have been triggered prior to the first one, to be fair.
No, to be fair, that is what triggered it.
Okay.
It's the process. Because again, I wasn't planning to get into property. I knew I wanted to buy. And in my mind, I wanted to buy the one that's mine.
Yeah.
But when I got it, got married about a year after getting the property, then got pregnant with twins.
Amazing.
Praise God. Pregnant with twins. So once I got pregnant, I was just like, me, you, and these 2 kids who were coming, I think we need a bigger place. So then we went looking for a place, ended up finding somewhere in Kent to move into. And we moved in literally 6 weeks before the twins were born. But when we obviously wanted to get that place, we had to sell our current place.
Okay.
So the estate agent came, valued it, and was like, yeah, I think it's worth 240K. I was like, I bought it 18 months ago for 170K. You're telling me it's 60K more than I just bought it for. And I didn't know this is what happens in property. So when he said that, I was just like, all right, this is a thing now.
Yeah.
60K to some people who's big in the property game might feel like this is nothing. But for me, who came from nothing and had no money, 60K in 18 months I was a millionaire.
Insane.
I was an absolute millionaire. So when that happened, this is what I'm saying. And in such a short time period. So when we sold that property, with that profit, we then bought another 2 more. One in Manchester and one in Kent.
Okay.
And then also had our 4-bed property in Kent that we lived in. So that's how it started. From that one property that just went up by chance.
Wow.
It was a great, obviously, period for the property prices going up. But it went up and I just thought, this is something I need to hone in on.
So, obviously, because you was a beginner though, how did you navigate the whole buy-to-let mortgages, and did you get help? Where did you get the help from? Or did you just trial and error, get certain things wrong?
Trial and error. I literally learned on the job. YouTube was my best friend. Google was my best friend. At work, that's all I was doing, just looking at how to buy property, how to invest, how to do it. So it was self-taught in the beginning.
Okay. So obviously the people know how it can be sometimes, but I want to assure people, I'm not making this about me at all. I'm literally asking the questions that I think some people would want to know the answers to. You've already answered about obviously how you kind of got the money and stuff. But I do want to ask this question for anybody who is thinking, you know what, I've always thought about property. I'm in a situation where I'm by myself. I'm 30, for example. I don't earn as much. I think the property market is different to how it was. Yeah. How do I start if I've only got £1,000 in my account?
Okay, so I'm going to say it's twofold. Cool. So it depends. If you want to own a property,
yes,
unfortunately, you have to stack and save.
Cool.
You got £1,000, cool. You need to, as we said before, either cut back your expenses or make more money. So find a way to look at your account, get rid of what you don't need. Subscriptions, the Starbucks, the Netflix, whatever it is, Uber Eats, cut it out. You have to be able to have small sacrifice or big time benefits at the end. So you have to stack. And I'm always an advocate of side hustles. If you're someone who has skills, and everyone has skills, they may not think that they do, but everybody has skills. If you like drawing, you can do graphic designing for someone. If you like maths, you can be a tutor for someone. There's things you can do to make more money. Look at COVID, the amount of entrepreneurs that were built during COVID because we couldn't leave the house. And you just by force had to just think, what can I do to make more money? The amount of content creators, podcasters, small businesses, Etsy's, Amazon, all that stuff that grew during COVID, it's the same now. You can still use those skills to make more money. So I think if you got £1,000, try and use your skills to create more money. Or on the flip side, if you're not about ownership, you just want to get into the property space, there's things like rent-to-rent and deal sourcing. Rent-to-rent is where you get a property that a landlord has who doesn't have the time to manage it, and you offer them, for example, 3-year or 5-year deal and say, I'll manage your property. You give them their monthly fee, but you take the profit. And obviously, if you say you got a 3-year deal, say you charge them, at the deal, you say, I'll pay you £1,000 a month. Rents keep going up. So when in month 2, the rent is now 1,200, you're still pocketing that extra money. The landlord ain't getting that. That's all your profit. So that's one way, rent to rent. Or you can do deal sourcing where, again, an investor doesn't have the time. You package a deal and say, I found a property that is amazing for you. It will give you X amount ROI. You'll get this much rent, blah, blah, blah. Present that to them. They take it. You get a fee just for the introduction. So there's 2 ways.
How difficult is that? Because with the rent to rent, I have to now find a winning landlord, right?
This is it.
Cool. So how difficult is that? Because I'm pretty sure there's people out there who would have to send maybe thousands of emails.
100%, yeah. So I'm all about ownership. I'm not saying rent to rent isn't good or deal sourcing isn't good. I'm about ownership. Rent to rent makes up a very minute part of my portfolio. Because you're right. Even me, when I get emails from people saying, right now I've got a vacant property in Sheffield and I get emails from people saying, I want to view your property. I ask you, is it for you or are you doing a corporate let? Yeah, it's for a corporate let. I'm just like, no, leave me alone. It depends on the presentation. It is hard. You have to knock on so many doors and you will get so many no's. And people glamorize it online like all you have to do is tell people what you can do and that's it. It's not like that. You really have to put the graft in and the work in and sell yourself that you're not just trying to do rent to rent, but you're trying to add value to what you can do because I know you don't have time and I will save you time. And you have to market yourself in a sexy way. So it's not that easy, but it is possible. But I'm more about ownership than the other side.
And for those who kind of want to get into it and maybe need a helping hand, they can obviously contact you. And you
100%. I've got my entire Instagram page is about education, telling people how things are. And I also do mentorship as well. And I've got a few mentees. So any part of the journey they're on, I can help.
Okay, so rent to rent and what was the other one you said?
Deal sourcing.
Deal sourcing. Okay, see, deal sourcing sounds even harder to me because again, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because in my head, I'm thinking I have to go on Zoopla, Rightmove, find low properties, value, do this, and like, is basically like that.
Yeah, it's not easy. You have to package it in a way that the first few parts of your page tells them exactly what they want to know. What's going to be my return on investment? How much do I need to put in? What are you going to offer me? So it's not that simple. But if you have a list of investors that are willing and want a property, they just don't have time to look, then you're good. But how do you get that list of investors? That's the thing. You have to be someone who's prominent, who's out there, who's calling estate agents, finding out people who have properties that that they're looking for new properties. It's not a walk in the park. You have to put the work in.
So all of these things, did you learn these things yourself, or was it like maybe you took a course as well?
So a lot of the stuff I learned myself. I have taken courses. So there's something called the NRLA, the National Residential Landlords Association. I've been on one of their courses, but this was about 7 years after I've been in the property. I went on the course to just learn more about property investment. So the bigger stuff. Because when I first started, I was just doing the normal vanilla buy-to-lets, like the really safe options, buying flats, and that's it. Nothing hard body, because I was just like, I'm just a baby girl. I'm not trying to lose any money. But if you don't try the hardest stuff, you'll never be able to stretch yourself.
Yeah.
So once I went on that course and they were teaching us about redevelopments, conversions, I was like, no, this is where I need to be. So they were teaching me a lot more harder stuff that stretched me more than I was doing. And from that course, I actually got a mentor, the one who was teaching the course. I was like, I need you one-to-one, because stuff you're saying right now is gems. I need more. So then paid for one-to-one mentorship with him for 12 weeks. And that's when we kind of ramped up our game.
Sick.
So knowledge, you used to ask me before, power or knowledge. Knowledge is always my number one. If I can learn from someone who's been there before me, so I avoid the pitfalls and mistakes, always will choose that option.
Because, I mean, I definitely don't want to paint, people roll their eyes now, yeah. But I don't want to paint the black community as always trying to, get out of paying for certain things. But would you say that buying that course and investing in that was one of the best things that happened for you in your property journey?
To ramp it up to the pace it has in the last 3 years, yes.
Okay, cool.
Because I probably wouldn't be where I am now. We've got 11 properties currently in our portfolio. We probably would have had maybe 6.
Okay.
So still a good number, but not as much as we have now. And I think, the investment in that and the learnings we got from that, I think it's gold dust.
All right. So.
And he was a white mentor. I'm going to say that too.
Okay.
He was a white mentor.
All right. Cool. What I was going to say is, when you bought your first property, and obviously something you said, you know what, I value ownership.
Yeah.
And even now you're still talking about deal sourcing and rent to rent and things of that nature. But the overarching thing is, for you anyway, the priority is ownership.
Yeah.
Why is ownership the priority?
You can't take it away from me if it's mine. Ownership, I think, is important for our community, for my children, for them to see that this is ours. Like, if mummy and daddy can do it, so can I, and then some. I think people are always watching you, whether you realize or not. If you are an example to so many people, if you can have it, I think I'm all about inspiring education. If I inspire someone, then I've done my job. And I think if you say I've got something, but it's not really yours, you're not selling them a dream, but people want to really know how you got it. And if you're telling them, oh yeah, I've got it, but it's not really mine, why are you telling them then?
Do you feel like ownership is enough, or do you feel like there's something in you that you need that basically will spark that desire for ownership, but then you have to build upon that? So for example, if you only got like 3 properties, and you gave that to your 3 children, would that be enough for you? Like, would you feel like, okay, cool, my job has been done and my kids have got their 1 property, they now don't have to worry about rent in the future, and that's it?
Generational wealth is important. It's very important to me, and it's not just about me. A lot of stuff I'm doing is not about me. It's about the person watching me and the next person who will learn from what I'm doing. And not even to make it sound all airy fairy, but me having multiple properties, it's not just for me and my kids, it is for other people to learn. The amount of money and gifts that me and my husband give out to people without needing anything in return, that's why I'm doing it. I'm getting more money so I can bless you.
Yeah. I've personally, I've said this on the show many times before, and I think I said this to you before, Brent, when you were asking me about some of the benefits of capitalism and stuff like that. And I was basically saying, obviously, we know that human beings are going to be human beings.
Yeah.
They're going to be bad at times, they're going to be good at times, depending on whatever your moral compass is, right? But if you're in a situation where you own things, at least you have more in your pocket to then actually be good to people, to actually bless people, like you just said.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And I think we really don't understand how far that goes. If we have to keep going to other organizations, other groups of people for assistance, even if we get it, I feel like the deal won't be as good, potentially, as if we came within a community.
100%. Totally agree with that. And even just to go back to what you were talking about before, it doesn't just lie with properties. So prior to doing properties, I owned a nursery. So again, I'm a black-owned nursery. So and this was in East London, this was in East Ham. So, so we owned, I say we, so it was my husband is the strategist. He's the one who has all these ideas. So I may be the face of Property by Jules, but my husband is fully behind me in in front. Let me even say behind, in front of me with this stuff. He has the strategy and the plan. Then I help execute it. So when I had the twins, going back a few years, I had the twins. I was in a normal paying job, still doing property on the side. The kids' nursery fees was as much as my salary. It was like 2,500. I'm not going to give you my children and give you my entire salary for what?
Exactly.
So I was at home for 3 years, and then we decided, let's open up our own nursery and let other kids come to our nursery to learn and make sure we give them a good experience, because we are the black face in East London. It's predominantly a lot of Asian nurseries. Let us be that face that is different. So we opened up a nursery, ran it for about 3 to 4 years. It done amazing. It was fully occupied. It was really hard as well because, again, knowledge is important. We started this with absolutely zero knowledge, no Ofsted experience, no safeguarding, no understanding how you have to make sure certain things are in place and the ratios between children and staff. Like, we had to learn all of that on the job. So in the nursery, it was me and my husband, his sister-in-law and a family friend who we kind of came together and done all of it. When COVID hit, it was our best period. Like, a lot of people obviously went through a lot of hardship and a lot of redundancies were made. I totally get it. But for us, it was really good because the government was paying furlough.
There you go.
I didn't have to pay my staff.
Yep.
The government paid my staff. So after COVID was kind of like finishing, we ended up selling the nursery and sold it at an amazing profit and left with 5 figures. And that again pumped into our nursery business. So ownership is important because I was able to create a system and a service for people in the area who needed it. The amount of children that came to our nursery that had learning issues like ADHD or autism or just something, there was just, I don't know what it was about the area, but there was just something that a lot of the children had special needs. So we were able to cater to that and help them and give them the time, give the parents the ability to not have, I know it sounds bad, but not be with their kids for 3 hours so they can just do them. Because a lot of nurseries weren't taking their children because they were either fully occupied or didn't want the additional children with the help because it was too much work. And then even like you were talking before about opening restaurants in different countries. My husband has a restaurant in Ghana. Again, serving other people.
There you go.
Serving other people. We're hopefully going to do a few other things outside of property here to service other people. So it's not just about ownership here. That money helps us to deliver other services to other different sectors.
Again, I'm not trying to do anything, guys. Understand and take this in the spirit, which I'm saying. This is basically what I'm talking about, where it's like we make certain decisions for ourselves and we don't necessarily look to others to do it. And it's hard work. No one is saying it's easy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure you had less sleep than many people who had 9-to-5s and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And also the burden of making sure the business continues to run, because if not, you're left with the financial liability.
100%. Like, even being a landlord, it's not that simple. I know landlords have a lot of stick in the news, but it's not that simple. I'm providing a home for people to live. Like, the government doesn't have enough homes to provide. So landlords have to do their part and provide homes and safe, habitable homes. It's not... you have to make sure, for example, stuff like the gas safety certificate is done, the EICR, the electrical certificate. If they call you at 2 a.m. and say, my boiler's broken, you have to go and service it. Landlords still have to do a lot of work. Obviously, there's money that we get, but I'm still having to provide a service that is safe. Because some rogue landlords, they don't look after their tenants, and it's sad. So not everyone should be a landlord.
100%. In the chat, Fernand says, Iman, aren't we now paying higher tax because of the furlough? Yes, we are. And I said this before. But at the end of the day, still a government came in. They gave furlough. A black business has benefited from it. If they didn't give furlough, maybe in your job, you would have been sacked. Right? So you're able to keep your job. Somebody else who's got a black business is able to benefit from it. So again, it's not about, I don't think the Tories thought about black people. They just did something in the interest of the country. And yet, both sides, we can
and they offered loans as well during that period.
Yes,
that
they did.
Ridiculously like the
like
cheapest
50K
loan
or something.
There were 50K, and just the interest rate was so low.
See?
The amount of businesses that took out loans, I think they were so smart. I've still got the loan. I'm still paying it back the minimum, because that's the cheapest loan I'm probably ever going to get. So yeah.
Somebody's asked a question, and I actually wanted to get into this when we mentioned about HMOs and stuff. But they said, can you ask Julianah whether she has done or ever considered doing supported accommodation at all?
I haven't done that yet. It's on my to-do list, but I haven't done that yet.
Supported accommodation. Do you feel like that's going to be much more headache though?
It will be a headache, but there's another organisation managing the rest of the headache for you. They're getting the tenants in, they're dealing with the maintenance. So I'm providing you the property. You are getting you're doing the rest of the work.
Yeah.
And I've got a 3 to 5 year contract with you. So I think it works in both ways.
Obviously, we bigged up owning.
Yeah.
Right? The value of ownership.
Yeah.
But what
Before
are some...
you continue, there's another question.
Okay.
How did she pick the areas to buy houses?
Can you
that
ask
are
the
not her
guests?
family home?
How did she pick the areas to buy houses that are not her family home?
Amazing question. Thank you. I think it's data is really important. You have to research. You can't just pick an area because you think it looks cute. You have to go by previous data that's available online. What are properties going for in a certain area? Is there regeneration projects? Is there going to be footfall into the area because they're building new businesses? So a lot of it was sparked by data. We've got a lot of properties in Yorkshire, HMOs and buy-to-lets, because Yorkshire is an area that is very up and coming. So what a lot of people do is to try to get properties in like major cities, but a lot of people are priced out of major cities. So why not look on the outskirts? Look at London. If people are flooding into Kent and Essex, the outskirts, because they're more affordable. And that's where you're going to get a lot of people that stay, are good tenants, but travel into the cities to work. So you have to just look at what where the rental demand is, what you can get for your money, and where is the regeneration coming that can hopefully pump up the prices. Because with property, it's twofold. You get paid 2 ways. Capital appreciation because the property goes up in value, and also the rental. So you got to look at both sides and decide what is your aim? What are you looking for? Capital appreciation or rental? So to answer your question, it's data.
What would you say are the top 3 things that someone should look for? So maybe the position of the house, how close it is to a station, or whatever it may be. Like, what top 3 things you would say?
You know, top 3 things. Location is very, very important. Obviously, where it is, the local amenities nearby. Is it next to a university? Is there going to be a lot of changeover? So, for example, a lot of people, they get properties for university students. And I think that's great. I've not really delved into that because I don't want a high turnover. I don't want every 9 months to have to get someone new and have void periods. So number 1, location. Number 2, the demand. The demand has to be there. There's no point getting an amazing glitz and glam property when there's no one who needs the property in that area. So
How do you ascertain the demand?
you look online. Look online. The properties that are that have been advertised for rent or to buy, and you can also see the data for the properties that have sold nearby or the properties that have been taken for rent, because it always lists property. For example, property that's for buy-to-let, it's now gone because it's off the market. You can call estate agents and ask them, do you have any demand for people who need properties in this area? The data is always there. You have to do your due diligence and call estate agents, look online. The data, it's there. Yeah. So number 1, location. Number 2, demand. And number 3, it sounds weird, but when you, for example, want to buy a property, you have to buy it knowing that I'm one day going to sell it. Is it going to be attractive enough? So when, for example, there's a lot of old properties out now. When you buy a property, the property is there, but you have to go upstairs to get to the property. You're Xing out new mothers, small families, because no one's going to want to carry their buggy or their pram up them big ass stairs. So you have to look at a property with the vision of, if I sell it, is it still attractive? So those are my top 3. Hopefully that helps.
All right, thank you for that. Like I was saying before, obviously we bigged up the value of like ownership,
Yeah.
But what are the downsides though? What's the disadvantages to ownership, if there are any?
Disadvantages.
Do you feel like maybe you are, I don't know, like maybe if the government puts certain things in place. So for example, the whole, Section
21.
That's the one, Section 21. A lot of people started selling their portfolios.
Yeah.
How did that affect you in a particular way? Did you care?
You know, I definitely did care because it gives tenants more rights. But if you're a good landlord, it shouldn't affect you that much, if I'm being honest. Because if there's a relationship between you and your tenant, and for example, so the Section 21 comes into place when the tenancy agreement finishes and you say, I want you out of property, I want property back. So tenants now have more rights to say, no, I want to stay in the property. And then you have to go via the whole route of evicting them and all the rest of it. So the landlord is trying to abolish Section 21 and no fault evictions. So it makes things harder. For example, like how they've increased stamp duty. But I don't think it makes it unattractive. I still think property is still a great investment.
Okay.
But I also believe in diversification. Property is one pillar of wealth. I 100% think investments are important.
Are you talking about stocks?
Stocks and shares, yeah.
Okay,
you have to also do both.
Okay, I like that. We have to come back to stocks and shares.
Yeah.
But saying that though, yeah, what about the legislation that was put in place a few years back? I believe it might have been under Osborne. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. Where basically you can't write off certain expenses anymore as a landlord. Has that made you feel like, look, I have to put up my prices now, my rent now, or have you? Yeah, has it just made things difficult for you?
Not difficult. You have to change strategy. So when I mentioned before, when I sold my first place and I got a place in Manchester and Kent, we knew nothing about buying under limited company, because that's something else that came in. So we had them both in our personal names.
Yes.
And then when we decided to buy this property, our new family home in Kent, we had to sell those two properties. So our next home, we had to sell those two properties that were in our personal names because the stamp duty we would have paid would have absolutely murked us. So we had to sell those two properties before buying our next family home and had to start from scratch.
Wow.
The property, because we had to now buy any investment properties in our limited company name.
Okay.
So it does change the strategy in how you do things, but it's not impossible to get back up there.
Okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do want us to talk about the difference between having your own name and the value of having a limited company and some of the perks that I don't think a lot of people who don't own businesses know about, like when it comes to limited companies and stuff. Yeah. So like you said, when you had your own property in your personal name, if you wanted to keep that property as a limited company, you would, correct me if I'm wrong, you would have to create your limited company and buy that property from yourself.
Yes, and you would have to pay stamp duty. There's no way to avoid it.
That's insane.
Yeah, you can't avoid it. It's just the law of the land. You just have to pay.
But long term, you still felt as though doing everything
in limited company. So me and my husband Desmond, we own only one property.
Exactly.
Where we live. All our other 10 properties are bought under our limited company name because of tax efficiencies. You're able to use your expenses and stuff. So if we pay for things for the property, we're able to use that and pay less tax because our accountant does what he has to do.
Exactly.
So it's not illegal, but
you just write off certain tax.
We write off loads of things because we pay for a lot for the property.
Exactly.
So we're able to pay less tax because of tax efficiencies of doing it under a limited company.
Is it going to be easier for? Okay, put it this way. Do you know much about trusts?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So how can you explain to the people what a trust is and how a trust can benefit?
Yeah. So a trust is basically somewhere where you put your what's the word? Your assets. So your assets, your property, your money, you can put it into a trust. And the trust basically protects those assets. So on the event of your death, you don't have to pay inheritance tax. Okay. Inheritance tax is a 40% tax that you pay on any of your assets when you die. But if it's in the trust, you're not liable to pay for that. So just to backtrack, so a trust, inheritance tax is only payable up to the threshold of 325,000. So if you have properties that are under that value, there's no point in putting it into a trust. If you have your property portfolio is bigger than 325,000, it makes sense to pull it into a trust so you're not liable for that tax when you die. Because there's so many people that you've heard really bad stories, and when someone dies, the kids now have to sell that property just to pay the tax.
Insane.
So if your property portfolio is worth bigger than 325, a trust makes sense for tax efficiencies. And also to bring up something I think is really important as well is about life insurance. Life insurance, me and my husband have a really hefty life insurance because of the amount of properties we have. And we've put that life insurance in a trust. Because when we die, you're going to tell me I should pay 40% of my life insurance I've been paying for the last 7 years.
Insane.
So that's in the trust, so they can't take that.
So essentially, when you guys pass away, which would be 100 years from now, would the insurance basically pay off any outstanding debt as well?
That's why we have it up to the age of like 87, so they're guaranteed to pay me my money.
Guys, again, I think I'm so happy you said this, because I think this is not even. I think this is the secret, that many of us in our community we don't know. That obviously the rich know.
And I think everyone should get life insurance. No matter, start as young as possible. And try to do it for I'm not going to give anyone advice. I think definitely speak to a financial advisor, please, guys, if you're unsure of what to do, because I don't want to give people advice. But life insurance is so vital. You don't know what can happen tomorrow. Your loved one should not be having to pay for things that they didn't plan for because you didn't plan.
Yeah. And even outside of that, just to go back to what you was just to stress that point, all the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Because this is why, again, I've said on the show many times before that my default position would be typically, obviously there'll be other factors too, but typically to I guess vote for a particular party that will reduce taxes, incentivize us actually starting businesses and owning things, right? And just make it easier for generational wealth.
Yeah.
But I think the key thing you said here, which kind of goes outside of that, right, is regardless of the government, you've got a trust and life insurance that protects you and protects all those investments from whatever they do.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So I'm gonna my properties right now aren't in a trust, but my life insurance is.
Okay, cool.
We are going to put our properties because we're still buying. We haven't finished yet.
Okay, cool.
But we will put them in a trust.
Exactly. So essentially, once you're in the trust, nobody can touch it.
No one can touch it.
And life insurance essentially pay off any outstanding debt.
Exactly.
So your
the house at least we live in, no one will take that off them.
Exactly. And so your kids now will have this investment, not have to pay any inheritance tax, and be able to go forward in life without that financial burden.
Exactly. And it's all just a what if. So for example, by God's grace, but we live to a very old age. By the time that we die, we would have hopefully paid off our house we live in. So then the insurance claim that the children will get, it's their money. They don't need it to pay off the house because by God's grace, the house will be paid off. So they just get paid twice. And both me and my husband. So they'll get paid by us both.
Wow. Amazing. What do you say to people who say property goes up and down in value? We've got inflation. Mortgage rates were crazy a few years ago. I don't really think property is the way to go. Number one, and based on those things, and number two, I don't think it's really an excellent store of value that it once was. What do you say to them?
I would say I totally understand where they're coming from, but again, data speaks for itself. Property prices and property values have gone up. Not even just in the UK. If you look across the board, they have doubled every 10 years. That's including COVID, the financial crisis, all the stuff that have happened, inflation going up and down and going crazy, Russia. Property prices have continued to tread above inflation between 1 to 1.5% continuously. So I understand why they would say that, because properties are way more expensive than they were. But the trajectory of it will continue to go up. So I just believe property is still a great source of investment. Bricks and mortar, they hold their value, they're stable.
And essentially, you're not saying, again, just to stress, is that it's easy.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
But essentially, having your money in property does for your money what it's a bank or whatever your money's doing now isn't doing, basically.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Because if inflation will erode at the value of your money.
If you put your money in the bank, your money's less now than what it was last year.
100%.
But property, unless you sell the property, you're not actually losing out.
All right. So I do feel as though some people will be listening to what you're saying. Even though you did talk about your humble beginnings, talk about everything from the very beginning, right? And how difficult it was for you and the decisions you made. What would you say to somebody who says, but you are privileged? Do you feel like you're privileged, number one? And number two, how do you navigate that sort of question? You know what I'm saying?
I would say I get where they're coming from. I am coming from a privileged position, but I didn't start there. Like I said, I started with a lot of sacrifice. I grew up with absolutely nothing. And this is not a sob story, but it's just to be real. I didn't have anything. My parents didn't have anything. We were on free school meals. EMA was my best friend. God bless them for EMA. Because if I didn't have that in college, I would not be able to survive. I wouldn't be able to eat. Wow. So I understand why they would say that. But I would also say I've had to do the hard graft to get there.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking from experience, which is why I now want to educate and inspire people to do exactly that. If you don't feel you can get into property, come and speak to me. I will tell you can. Because if I can do it, you can do it too. And this isn't just airy freight. I will show you and help you find ways to strategies to reduce your expenses, find ways to save, really speak to you to find out what can you do, what are your skills, how can we help you get more money? Because it's all about ownership. Honestly, it really is. I don't want anyone to feel that they can't do it. It's unattainable. It is attainable.
I really want us to spend a bit of time getting into all the things that you offer, all the services you offer. But I do want to ask this question from Natty, who says, if rent-to-rent agreements can help landlords avoid some of the pitfalls to property ownership, like void periods, tenants' rights, etc., why are landlords against it?
I'm not against it. Like I said, I have a very small part in my portfolio that is rent to rent, but the property is not that person's. So so you are still liable for the checks. So if someone comes knocking on the door saying, you've got a tenant here, why hasn't the gas safety certificate been done last year? And it's now more than a year. They're coming for your neck, not the rent to rent person's. I think rent to rent is great for people who, like I said, who don't have the time. Because property is now my full-time job, I have the time to go up to do viewings, to go up to make sure I see my tenants eyeball to eyeball, so I know who's in my property. So for example, even this weekend I'm going up to Sheffield to do viewings because my property is now vacant. So I'm not against it. Landlords who don't have the time to do it, go for it. For me, I would rather manage my own property and know who's there and have that tenant relationship. So I know what's going on with you, what you need done. Because once the 3-year agreement ends and you go back to the property, if the stuff isn't done and the property is not how you left it, that's still for you to fix.
100%.
So I'm not against it. But for me, I've got the time, so I'd rather do it.
Okay, cool. Because I guess it does make sense that if a landlord, for example, doesn't have that time and he's thinking, oh man, I've had a few void periods, but this person can offer me guaranteed rent.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. I've been in the property game for a very long time now. I don't have many void periods. So I'm just speaking from my experience. There are some landlords who do, but I've got the time to make sure that doesn't happen. So yeah.
How do you manage all of this, being a mom, being a wife? You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's hard and it's long. Some properties, I don't manage all of them. So the HMOs, that's given to a property manager.
Okay.
I don't do that because managing so my HMOs are 5-bed properties and if you've got 3, I'm not managing 5 different tenants times 3. That one I ain't got the time for. I give it to someone else to deal with. But the properties, the developments, so the properties that have just one family in it, the ones that are development projects, I will do it myself. So it does take a village. I cannot do it all by myself. My husband is very active as well in the property business too. So it takes work and it takes help.
So essentially, if somebody right now is listening to the show and says, you know what, I've been looking for a property for myself, my first property, I've stacked up, I'm 32, I've got 50K. I'm not too sure if I want to do this myself because I don't want the mortgage responsibility. What
would you mean do it yourself, as in not own it?
As in, yeah. So basically to buy the property and then I have to start paying mortgage payments. Yeah. What if they said, okay, cool, can I buy a first property but rent that out? Is it possible for somebody to get their first property as a buy-to-let, basically?
You can get first properties buy-to-let. It's not harder, but they will go through a lot more stringent checks on you because there's no collateral behind you.
Yes.
You're saying I want to buy a property, but I can't take nothing from you. You can take obviously the property that you're trying to get, but normally you have your residence that the bank can say, I will take that if you can't pay. And then obviously your buy-to-let property, but it's not impossible. It can be done.
Do you think in a situation like that, where that person doesn't want that responsibility, it might be good to go down the route of buying the property and then do the whole consent to lease?
Consent to lease is good. Yeah, I've got clients as well who do that, 100%. Okay. If you have a property, I think consent to lease lasts for about 3 years because after that time, they're just like, no, you're actually just buying it now. Just make it into a buy-to-let. Why are you saying it's consent to lease? So consent to lease is definitely something that I would recommend people do if they know it's just for the short term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the stuff that you do, the services that you offer, somebody says to you, okay, cool. I have, like I said, I've got 5K right now. I do not know where to start. Julianah, help me because I want by the end of 2025 to have a property.
Yeah.
What do we do? What do you say to me?
Book a consultation call and we'll go through everything. We'll go through your finances. We'll go through, again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm very good with numbers.
Cool.
So I will tell you what I believe you should do. So cutting expenses, finding a side hustle. We'll look at strategies. So everyone wants to buy in London and there's so many other opportunities up north. I've got 5-bed properties for under 100K. I've got 3-bed properties for 83K. So London and surrounding London shouldn't just be your be-all and end-all. You can make money outside. So if you've got 50K, I can make that work for you.
Do you also help people with finding accountants and basically just managing everything as well?
Yes, they've definitely got recommendations. I've got an amazing broker. He's the one who actually helped me get my first property, Adam, and he's who I always recommend people to get. I've got solicitors who I've used for personal name and limited company name. I've got accountants. So yeah, I've got a pool of people that can help.
Okay. And also for somebody who maybe has a lot of funds, they've got a property. In fact, they've got 2 properties, but they're thinking, I just don't have the time to search for more properties.
Yeah.
And they come to you, so they book a consultancy call with you and everything. Would you basically be able to take the will basically from that point?
That's still sourcing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Find a property for them and then tell them what you will make, tell them why I think it's a good investment and package it up for you. So that's just basically deal sourcing.
Okay, cool. So somebody just comes to you and just says, look, please just
I ain't
do
got
the
time,
rest.
pay me and I'll do it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100%, yeah. Cool. I think that's the whole point. I think a service is to help you save time. If you don't have the time, I'll make that time work for you.
Do you do any courses as well?
So
or is
yeah,
it more, okay.
So I've got mentees who currently are doing a property management course. So so she basically came to me, was like, I've got £4,000. I want to get into property. I want to do rent to service accommodation. Went through the numbers. She is not time rich. She's got a young kid. I was like, if you want to do this, you want to be hands on. Personally, it won't work because you are not able to get the cleaners, do all the communication. You don't have the ability to do that. I would recommend learning how to do property management. So managing someone else's property in the surrounding area. So currently I'm doing a course with her to show her the compliant way to do property management. So she can go to her surrounding circle, because everyone's got an auntie or an uncle or friends that they know that have properties that they don't want to manage it. You can take your 10% and manage it effectively for them. Because the estate agents, they charge about 15%, between 12 and 15%. You can undercut that and do it to a better standard. So I teach people how to do property management as well. I've got an ebook about all the different investment options. I help people with their first-time purchases. So yeah, a bit of everything really. I don't have a niche. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, but I can't offer one service because everyone's at different stages in their property journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's the benefits and I guess some of the negatives of a HMO? And can you explain to people what HMOs are?
So HMO is where a property has 3 or more occupants, and they're not related, they're all individuals. So there's 5 different tenancy agreements and they live in a room, basically.
So they share the amenities, like
they share the amenities, they share the kitchens, they share the bathrooms. Some people can have en suites, but they share the main amenities. Disadvantages are this is you getting 5 different people who don't know each other in one place. There might be some ruckuses. The people don't always like each other. So there can be issues with, I don't like that tenant, he's annoying me, he didn't clean the bathroom today. Stuff like that. There could little stuff like that. And other issues are, about a year or so ago, energy prices went through the roof. When you have a HMO, you're paying the bills as the landlord, not the tenant. So when they're leaving the electricity on the whole day, that's you paying for that. So the energy prices went up like more than double. And I didn't pass that on to my tenants, but you're having to take the brunt of that. Yeah.
See, that doesn't... For somebody who's thinking, but I want to make some passive income.
No, there's no passive in property. I'm so sorry.
Okay, cool.
Property is not passive. I'm still working on the weekends and the evening. I'm not even to dissuade people because it's great and I love it. But if you're managing it yourself, you don't really switch off. And even if you have a property manager, they're still coming to you saying, this is broken, that's broken, I need this invoice paid, blah, 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 blah. So it's not passive. And if you really want to do it and go to the extremes of developments and making something out of nothing, that's another ball game.
Is that something that you want to get into?
I'm doing it now, yeah. Amazing. So we've bought a burnt down property in Yorkshire that literally had no roof. And right now we're redoing the roof and changing the building to 3 separate flats. Wow. So reconfiguring everything. I went there 2 weeks ago. It's an absolute, it's messed up. There's glass and wood and tiles everywhere. But I'm creating 3 homes for someone. Like that's my passion. That's something that I'm giving someone a new home. Yeah.
And in terms of the figures, all make sense for you though?
The figures make sense, but sometimes, again, going back to knowledge and power, I'm learning so much through this process in terms of contractors, what to do regarding putting in new electricals, new heating, speaking to different service providers. Like I'm learning so much in this, so yeah.
Somebody asked, do you have a website? How can somebody find...
Yeah, I do. So again, my brand name, propertybyjewels.com.
Propertybyjewelspeople.com. Somebody's thinking, okay, cool, I've got my own property. I never actually thought of going into ownership, doing the whole, outside of owning their own personal property.
Yeah.
how much money, at what point can somebody earn enough to basically stop working? How many properties on average? And it's hard. It may depend on the area, it may depend on a lot of factors. But right now, I'm assuming right now, you don't have a 9 to 5.
No, this is my full-time job.
Okay, cool. At what point did you make that decision?
You know what? So I've got a son who's 18 months. And when the maternity leave finished, I was like, I'm not going back to work. This is it. And that's when we just really like, when I was pregnant is when we went on that course. Okay. And from then on, I was like, I'm not going back to work. Once this baby drops and they pay me more money for my company, I'm not going back. I'm going to do this full time. So I don't have a blanket figure for you. But again, like I said, I've got 11 properties in my portfolio. Yeah. So, and it's taken 10 years for me to get to the point to say I'm not going to work. So it's not an overnight thing. Yeah. Literally, property, there's so many people online that make it sound like it's a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not. Yeah. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah.
For somebody out there who's thinking, okay, cool, you know what? My parents bought their home. So like, obviously the caller said, some Caribbean people actually did that. Yeah. A lot of African people did that. We know that as well. Yeah. They've given it now to their only child, for example. So now that child is now living in that property, whatever. How can they use that as leverage to springboard their journey into getting to where you are?
Depending on what equity is in a property, they can release equity from that property to go and buy more properties. I'm actually spoke to one of my mentees yesterday. Her parents have a property. They are going to remortgage it and give her 100K. And I'm going to make her use that 100K to go and buy 2 properties up north and make that money work for her.
And that's a property that you're going to find for them.
I'm going to.
For her.
So she didn't want me to find it yet. I've told her what to do. Again, there's different packages. Yeah. So I've told her what to do and I'm going to sit by her and make sure she makes the right decision. I'm not going to let her go down the wrong route. I'm going to find properties as well and say, this is what I found. What do you think? Because she has certain area that she wants to go into. I've got areas that I think are better because of my experience. So, yeah.
Do you also, obviously, I'm assuming since you're a developer too, that you do whole refurbs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So it's, again, if somebody's thinking, cool, I've got a house that I just don't have the time. Yeah. I want to refurb that house. Yeah. Maybe even split into 2 flats, top and bottom. Can they come to you and you...
They can come to me. Some stuff they would need to get planning permission on if you're going to obviously do that. But so I'm actually construction project management qualified. I've done RICS course, which is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. So I've got that under my belt as well. So I am actually able to do that and project manage people's refurbs too.
You do everything basically.
You thank God.
Guys, we've got a black person here. I know that we have other viewers as well. But for the white allies out there, you want to support black businesses? Come here as well.
Oh, yeah, I come.
But guys, we can do it ourselves, man. We've got somebody here who's going to offer all the services you need, basically, to get in and start your property journey, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, it's been amazing you coming. I know you have to leave in a minute.
Childcare's calling, man. I'm sorry.
But before you go, there are 3 questions that we ask all our guests. Yeah. Right? First one is, tell us something people are usually surprised to learn about you.
I hate talking.
Serious?
I don't like talking, you know. I'm a proper introvert. This right now is me at my comfort zone, but the fact that I'm going to hopefully help people, it's not about me.
Amazing. What would you say is your biggest life lesson?
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Even if something feels uncomfortable, you have to try. You have to stretch yourself. I think I've said it 10 million times now. Stretch yourself and test God. Yeah.
How do you know Gina?
Sorry? How do I know Gina?
Yeah.
So someone actually asked that?
That's the same mantra she runs by, innit? So
oh, is it?
She probably stole it from you.
The funny thing is actually this is good. This is, anyway. So I don't know Gina in terms of like actual personally. I've seen her around, but I've never actually met her. But people like her are so inspirational. There's 3 people that I look up to so much who I've never actually met. So Gina is the number one in terms of like, I think I followed her from the beginnings when she started, and seeing where she is now in that gym space, in that influencer space, she's absolutely smashing it. And then number 2 is someone called Mary Papachichi who does hair. Again, from her Instagram, like I used to do hair when I was younger. I've got 3 younger sisters. Someone to absolutely just blow it out of the water, be doing celebrities hair, just doing the most. Like, it's so inspirational to see. And I really look up to people like that who are just flying the flag for young black women. And then the third one is the lady called Bemi. She does bridal wear. So Alanuco Designs is her brand for weddings. Again, like all young black girls who look like me that are just absolutely murking their industries. Like, I just love it so much.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I remember, in fact, Gina, maybe this is why you're asking, Brent, because Gina put in the comments yesterday, innit?
She
like,
did.
oh, man, I wish
Mate,
I
I
was
absolutely fainted. I know it just sounds so silly, but I was like, she commented that she meant. But yeah, she's so inspirational. So inspirational.
Big up Gina, man.
Big up.
Our last question is, and this is basically left from somebody, the previous guest.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to leave a question for the next guest.
Okay.
Yeah. If you could click your fingers and change one thing in this world, irrevocably, what would that be?
That's a really good question. Change one thing in this world.
Whilst you're thinking about that, I just want to say something, yeah. Someone in the chat basically said you have an ebook all about property.
Yeah, property investing ebook.
Guys, yep. And she says, Jumoke 24, she says it's definitely worth a read. So get the ebook,
lovely,
guys.
thank you.
Get the ebook.
I would say I would want everyone to have self-belief. I think we doubt ourselves so much. We always second guess certain things that we want to do because we're scared of what other people want to say or scared of how people will look at us. I think I would want everyone to have self-belief, knowing that if there's a thought you've got, there's probably a reason you've got that thought, do it. So, yeah.
I like that. And what question would you want to leave for the next guest?
If there's one experience you would change that's happened to you in the past, what would it be and why?
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Can we throw the question at you?
One experience that would... You know what? My experience has made me who I am, but I would definitely change my upbringing. Yeah, in terms of... we were really taught live hand to mouth because and it's not their fault. They came from Nigeria, they came here and they literally lived to survive. But I would pray that self-belief would have been something that imagine that they would have taught us rather than us having to go and find it in the world. Yeah. So,
and that's obviously something that you're passing on to your children.
Yeah, but it took a lot of work, to get there.
Man, that's beautiful, man. Again, appreciate you coming onto the show.
Sorry.
Oh, you know what? Thank you for that.
I want to know my league. I know I'm number one, but I want to know what I got.
Let me calculate that quickly. While I'm doing that,
Yeah.
Do you plan on buying property back home?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We're talking about, so I'm Nigerian, my husband's Ghanaian. We're in discussions to get a property in Ghana by God's grace by the end of the year. Okay. Either develop our own or get an existing one, but I think Ghana's definitely on the cards. Oh, sorry, and we have a property, I didn't even say, we have a property that we're currently going through the process with in Ras Al Khaimah. Okay. So we actually are international. We're going to own a property in Ras Al Khaimah by the end of this year.
Amazing.
So yeah.
How difficult is it to actually buy property? What I mean by that is over here in this country at least, you can basically use the limited company. Yeah. You can use all your expenses and all that stuff via the limited company. Yeah. If you want to buy property abroad, do you have to take it out as a dividend personally and then buy? No. You just have to just prove your affordability, but the deposits are a lot more. We have to pay 50% deposit. Wow. It's not like here 25% for buy to let or 10% for first time buyers. It's a lot more you got to put in there. Because they don't know you from Adam. They got to show that you have enough worth in the property, so you're less risky to them. But in terms of the money, though, like, is it money that would have to be from Julianah and Desmond's pocket, or is it from your limited company? Like, how is it managed? If that makes sense?
We are using the money we get monthly to pay towards the deposit for that. So we're not taking money out. Our money from our rentals is staying in that account. This is new money that we're getting.
Okay, so this is earned money.
This is earned money personally. Exactly.
Okay, cool.
This is earned money.
Because I always thought that's what kind of makes it more difficult. But obviously, like just like anything else, though, you just have to tighten your belt and make that work. You know what I'm saying? I believe I have calculated the scores.
Go for it.
Have you ever sat down with your parents and talked to them about that self-belief thing?
You know what? I haven't, because the mindset yet hasn't shifted. Yeah, because even if you watch it, it's going to absolutely kill me. But even when I started doing my Instagram videos, my first video was about who are we? And I told my story about, didn't come from much. My dad was a cab driver. Mum was on benefits, which is the true story. He then called me and was just like, yeah, I don't like that post. I'll take it down. I was just like, Dad, but it's about, I'm inspiring people to show them, if I can do it, you can too. And he was just like, I don't like it. You're telling two people too much about us. And I was just like, yeah, it hasn't changed yet, but it will. It will.
Is it, what, Iman, can you speak to that? Like, why do you think he wanted it done? Was it shame?
Yeah, of course it was. It was embarrassment.
It's not their business?
It's a combination of both, though.
Yeah.
Because I think my default is to be like that too.
Yeah, they don't people know my business. And even me, I don't want people know my business as well. But it's to help other people. That's why I've got to tell my business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I act like I came with silver spoon in my mouth, you won't take me seriously. You're going to be like, well, you've got that, so that's why you're here. I had zero.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, I think as human beings, we just relate to stories anyway.
Yeah.
Better.
Storytelling is important.
Yeah. But I think everyone who's listening now feels a bit better equipped mentally anyway, and believes anyway that they can do something because you told them certain things that is either something they've gone through themselves, or maybe their position is even better.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's the excuse?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's a good thing, man.
And their house is already mortgages paid off, right?
No, they don't own.
So how have you patterned them? Sorry, that was a stupid question.
No, we're
wait.
there.
I swear, just keep up about. Wait.
No, I hear you though. We're getting there. All
right.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, anyway, there's no point. No point. No point.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, pattern them for what though? What would be the chief aim?
So I'm
because
thinking,
if you buy it for them, it just comes back to you anyway.
I'm thinking
you know what I mean, to the kids.
I'm thinking could be a complete false equivalency. You know how certain children will be like, I want to be a singer, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a footballer. Like we talk about face your books, do this side X. But what it is that you start earning the money and you're able to now make their brethren come and tell them, hey, such and such and such.
Yeah.
Completely change the mind.
Yeah.
So if it is you have 11 properties, right? And you've been able to say, before we get the 12th, I'm going to make sure that you don't have to worry about that mortgage anymore. They might change their mind about how it is that you share stories.
I hear that. I understand that, but there's...
Hey man,
Yeah.
I'm aware
I know why I'm saying what I'm saying.
I'm aware there's family politics. I just, again, don't mind me. I just
I hear it. No, I hear the question. I hear it.
Again, Property by Jewels, right?
Yes, sir.
On everything.
On everything. Instagram, TikTok, my website as well.
Okay, Brent's going to put it in the description, guys. It's on the screen. And just before you go, I just want to say you got 30 points, which is the second of all time.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
So this year's
I was waiting for it.
Bear in mind, you would have gotten first, but the questions that Sace got were just very easy.
No, is it?
Yeah, you got.
So it's not the same questions.
No.
So that's not equivalent.
Precisely.
To be fair, I think to be fair, big up Sace. I love Sace
all the time.
but I think your questions are a bit harder. To be fair.
So I'm number one.
But yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming.
No worries.
Man. Hopefully you come back again, man.
I will. Invite me anytime. It's actually been fun.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, people. I hope you guys enjoyed. In fact, I've seen from the interview, from the chat, that you guys definitely enjoyed.
I like that you did that. Bounce, yeah. All right.
I'm sure you guys enjoyed that, man.
Later. Thank
Again,
you very much. Bye.
I feel like you guys can definitely go back, re-listen, get your pens and pads out. There'll be so many jewels in there. So, there you go, probably by jewels. So many gems in there that I think we could all gain from, man. You know what I'm saying? That can better put us, black people, ethnic minorities, in a better position, man. You know what I'm saying? So big up Julianah and Desmond, both of them amazing inspirations, man. Big up you guys for real. Brent, let's go into our next set of headlines.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But you didn't ask in the chat or in the Discord. You texted me, so I'm only now seeing it.
God damn it. Okay, you guys, obviously we don't have much time to the show, but Stacey and Christelle, you can call up whilst I do the headlines. But yeah. Next set of headlines, President Trump's executive order suspends the US refugee program, affecting thousands of affecting thousands of Afghans who helped the US during the war in Afghanistan. So Afghan Evac, which is a coalition helping US Afghan allies, said that the pause in refugee resettlements impacts Afghan allies awaiting relocation to the US. Thousands of Afghan allies who have completed most steps in the refugee process will be immediately affected, and many more in processing would remain in limbo. The executive order calls the US refugee admissions program detrimental to US interests and suspends it starting January 27th. Afghan Evac said that the order impacts at-risk Afghans in hiding and also family members of active duty US troops. Reuters reported that flights of 1,660 Afghans cleared to resettle in the US were cancelled, but Afghan Evac President Sean Van Diver clarified that no flights were cancelled yet. So we're hearing different information here. But hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it and we'll let you guys know. Next headline, Saudi Arabia plans to invest at least $600 billion in the US over the next 4 years. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman informed the US President Donald Trump of the plan during a phone conversation. The kingdom seeks to participate in partnership and investment opportunities in the US. The report did not provide details of the planned investments. The leaders discussed cooperation to promote peace, security, and stability in the Middle East and to combat terrorism. Trump assumed office on Monday and vowed to restore American prestige and rebuild its economic power. Trump made Saudi Arabia his first foreign visit during his first term, signing investment agreements worth about $400 billion. In 2018, the Crown Prince said armaments would be manufactured in Saudi Arabia, creating jobs in both countries and boosting economic growth and security. So this is a perfect example of Saudi Arabia aligning with America. And I'm pretty sure they don't align in many things, you know what I'm saying? But in terms of the betterment of Saudi Arabia, and hopefully long term, I guess, for the Middle East, this is what they're doing. Could be a bad or good thing, depending on what side you stand. Prince Mohammed and King Salman congratulate Trump on his return to the Oval Office. Trump expresses thanks and stresses keenness to work with Saudi leaders for mutual interests. Last headline, Hundreds of same-sex couples are marrying in Thailand as it becomes the largest nation in Asia and the first in Southeast Asia to allow equal marriage. So a mass LGBTQ plus wedding at a Bangkok shopping mall saw hundreds of marriage registrations as the law came into effect after years of campaigning. I cannot pronounce the names of these two individuals, but Porsche and Am, they've been together for 17 years. This is just one example, and they got engaged 11 years ago. Porsche said it marks the beginning of equality in Thailand, inspiring people to see that love is normal and the same for everyone. Thailand's same-sex marriage bill passed in June, making Thailand the third country in Asia to do so after Taiwan and Nepal. Thailand ranks highly on global assessments of LGBTQ legal conditions and public attitudes, contrasted with many of its neighbors. Opinion polls show overwhelming public support for equal marriage. Thailand remains a conservative Buddhist society with a largely patriarchal family structure. And it's time to pay them bills. But you know what, Brent? Whilst we pay them bills, let me jump into the last set of headlines also. And more than 30,000 people have been ordered to evacuate their homes north of Los Angeles due to the Hughes fire. The fire started late Wednesday morning near Lake Castaic, about 40 miles from the Eaton and Palisades wildfires. Obviously, you guys know about this. We've updated you a couple of times. Within hours, the blaze had burned across 9,400 acres. Insane. And it's at 0% containment. LA County officials issued evacuation orders for over 31,000 people with another 25,000 under evacuation warnings. Next headline, trigger warning on this one, guys. Leo Ross, who's a 12-year-old boy, was found injured in the Hall Green area of Birmingham on Tuesday afternoon and sadly died in hospital a few hours later. A 14-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder and remains in custody. Leo was a pupil at Christchurch COV Secondary Academy, and he was described as a lively and happy young man by his head teacher. Tributes, flowers, and messages have been left near the scene of the attack. Chief Superintendent Richard North described the attack as an absolutely appalling incident and urged anyone with information to come forward. The suspect was also arrested in connection with an unrelated assault on an elderly woman. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper announced tougher measures to tackle knife sales online after a previous incident involving a minor purchasing a knife on Amazon. The sale of knives with a fixed blade longer than 3 inches to under 18s is illegal in England and Wales. And our last headline, the new EU trade chief, Maros Sefcovic mentioned the possibility of a pan-European customs area in post-Brexit negotiations with the UK. Sefcovic refers to the idea of Britain joining the Pan-Euro-Mediterranean Convention, the PEM, which allows tariff-free trade using parts or ingredients from multiple countries. The previous Tory government did not pursue PEM, but some businesses believe it could help Britain rejoin complex supply chains affected by customs barriers. The UK government is consulting with businesses about the benefits of the PEM plan, but no final decision has been made. Sefcovic also mentioned the need to review a full-scale veterinary agreement to reduce frictions on farm and food trade. The EU-UK fisheries deal is set to expire next year, and the solution for fisheries is important for the EU. Single market treatment for UK food and farm exports would require dynamic alignment of rules. Sefcovic was surprised by the spun interpretation of the European Commission's offer of youth exchanges, emphasizing that it is a bridge-building proposal. So yeah, that's basically the point of it. And that's pretty much it for the headlines, Brent. Time to pay them bills again. Have we got someone in the chat?
Good morning, Christelle.
Yes. Good morning, Christelle. How are you?
Morning, I'm good.
Are you on the Discord now, yeah?
I've got a Discord. I feel like a grandma.
All right.
Sorry, Brent.
All right. So, Christelle, yeah, you were saying before, yeah, that basically Emmanuel doesn't know the history, right? And that how it's kind of easy for us to say or talk this whole ownership do for self ideology, basically, right? I'm kind of summarizing. Is that correct?
I think the issue is it's not that I don't think you know the history, and I don't think that people don't know the history. I think, and this is one thing, and I think maybe Brent understands when we have conversations, is we keep having conversations in such big binaries of like, we're not doing anything or we're doing everything.
Yeah.
Instead of having very nuanced conversations of taking the historical context and then saying, well, of what we have done, there's progress, right? Like, it may not be the same as every other people that were colonized or whatever, but there's been progress.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have to factor in, and what was the hindrance to a lot of the progress? I.e., okay, why did Wall Street happen? And what was the effect of Wall Street, right? What was the effect of them removing all the black families that were in Central Park in New York? Like, what was the effect of all of the systematic oppression that was happening in the early 1900s to even now, right? So I think whenever black people have these conversations about what we need to do for ourselves, I love it, but we need to be careful that it doesn't become pick up yourself by the bootstraps, because one thing is some people are given boots, right, to be able to pick this up, and then some people are given the boots and then taking it and then having it taken away, right? So then you're having to actually make your own boots in some way. So I think that's the only thing, and I think obviously I didn't catch a lot of the convo, so I don't even know how you got from your headline, which is Elon Musk and fascism, to this. But I'm guessing there was some sort of uber capitalist conservative rhetoric that you were spewing to get to this. Is what I understand.
Allegedly.
and to be honest with you, I think that's the response that most black people will have, because that's the response that they want you to have. But with black people, I think it's more community. Individualism works for certain communities, and then community works for certain communities. And I don't know, I'm probably a mix of I'm probably just a socialist, and I understand that capitalism isn't always going to serve everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
In the same way, and individualism isn't going to serve everyone. So keep telling people we need to do better, we need to start businesses. All you're going to do is just create more individualism in a time when we need more community, right?
I hear you, but I think for me, I feel like it depends on the people. If it's in the heart of the people to want to do something collectively, then the minds of those who can do things individually can come together afterwards and do things collectively. So case in point, we had Julianah today, right? Who didn't wait for anybody, who said, I'm going to do something individually. Even my parents, even the foundation that was laid for me before, right? It didn't serve me. I didn't like to be in this position. So she did everything in her power for self. She did it by herself. And I'm not saying that everyone is in that same position. I don't want us that conversation to creep in and us lose where we need to actually go with this conversation. But the reality is somebody woke up and said, I just don't like this. And she did something for herself. She got married, she had kids, etc., etc. Now she has a portfolio worth over £2 million. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was her doing something for herself. On top of that, because of the type of person she is and what's in her heart, she's also saying, people, come to me. Of course, consultancy fee, this is not just charity, but come to me and I guarantee you I'm going to make sure I encourage you and push you to actually get on the poverty ladder too. Because why? It is the beginning of generational wealth. We had Patricia Lamore come on the show. I wish she comes back again. Danielle, please hook it up, right? And she said one of the, again, I don't want to get the words wrong, but she said one of the biggest mistakes our generation made, her generation, was that they didn't pass on anything of real, tangible something to us. It was always going it was always doing certain things in politics, and we didn't have anything of our own, something that we can tangibly use to lobby for change. Because all that will happen is we go to the politicians, we rely on whoever's in power, who we know, at least on any given day, we say these people don't serve our interests. Yet we're going to these people, writing letters to these people. And I'm not saying that doesn't achieve anything, but it doesn't choose everything that we need it to. And it will be much harder, especially if their interests do not overlap or align with ours. And when we're talking about the past, yeah, we know what we did with Black Wall Street. Yes, 100%. But prior to that, we had Booker T. Washington, who was a slave. He was a slave. And he said, again, guys, if you don't know about Booker T. Washington, I know Stacey doesn't like Booker T. Washington, and I don't really know why. But do the history on Booker T. Washington. He was a slave. He one of his books, Up From Slavery. Listen to that and see what he did. He was instrumental in creating a black institution. The very beginning of HBCUs, he was a slave. He did for self. He made speeches, he made people donate, whatever way was possible, but he did something, an institution that black people alone could benefit from. Who was inspired by that? One of the greatest black men that's ever lived, the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He left Jamaica in search of Booker T. Washington. He wanted to sit at his feet to actually do something for black people. That's somebody who did for self. Booker T. Washington didn't come out of slavery and say, okay, guys, you wrongly did me wrong. You did me wrong during slavery. Now you owe me reparation. Give me this, give me this, give me this. And I'm not going to move until I get it. It wasn't that. And I'm not saying that we should stop the fight for reparation. I've said this many times in the show. Many of us have different things that we want to fight for. And I believe as long as all of us are in the same direction, right, at least trying to get to the same destination, then it's a beautiful thing. Me and Maggie go back and forth all the time, but I believe that she knows in my heart that I only want best for black people. And I know in her heart, she only wants best for black people. You know what I'm saying? But we just have different methods, right? And so I'm basically saying...
Can I just ask a question here? Because it's quite interesting. Because I think actually... I agree about Booker T. Washington and I agree about that. But also I think the reframing's a bit interesting because it sounds like there's a bit of reframing of it as an individualistic effort.
Okay.
Whereas a lot of the people at that time it wasn't an individualistic effort to attain through capitalism. It was a collective effort to attain freedom for people and institutions for people, right? So yes, Booker T. Washington is a good example of a freedom fighter, of someone who came from a background and got here, but his thing wasn't individualistic. It wasn't capitalistic neither. And when you're talking about bootstraps and us doing stuff and building stuff, that is capitalistic, right? And I'm not saying that capitalism, like whatever you ascribe to, I'm a corporate lawyer, ex-corporate lawyer. I'm working a capitalist structure, but let's not reframe a lot of what the early people did as a bid for capitalism. It was a bid for freedom, community building, and putting the black community somewhere. And that's what we need to even ask ourselves. Are there people in our communities now, like a Julianah and other people who are doing it in that way as well, that we can rally around, instead of us just having a lot of individualistic exploits? Because individualism doesn't work. Like, it just doesn't. In no community does it work. No matter what we say, every other community still works in a very community way. And all I fear is pushing capitalism and pushing bootstraps and pushing this just leads to more individualism and selfishness, which is what we don't need.
I hear exactly what you're saying, but I would basically argue that I believe both of them work together. So, for example, I don't even want to get into the technicalities of the whole Kreplin Conan situation. Yeah, that's besides the point. I just want to say that both of them pursued something for themselves, and if they tell you it was just for the community, that's a lie. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think for themselves and for their families, Nala's baby, all these investments that Krept is doing, amazing things. He did it first and foremost for his family, but it's still something that collectively, because he asked black people, he asked other people too, of course, to invest in this particular enterprise. And as a result, this black man who pursued something for his family can now service the community. We can all benefit from amazing goods that help and better the skin of our children. We can now have a supermarket that we can go to and find world foods in those stores. Again, forget about the logistics of the actual store and all that stuff. I know nothing about the supermarket, but just at least on face value, these two have come together, put their money, didn't ask the community for money. They didn't ask for charity. They put their money on the line. They put their their sweat and their efforts on the line. They risk their actual capital on the line so that they can do something for themselves, but also the people. So we can't divorce collectivism from individualism, because there'll be certain people in the collective who are better equipped than other people. And those people need to be free enough to go and pursue those particular things and then come back. That's where the collectivism starts to kick in. So again, this is why I use Julianah as a perfect example. She didn't wait for her siblings to be on the same side. She didn't wait for her parents to wake up. She didn't wait for anybody in Brixton to help her. She said, you know what? I'm going to come back home and I'm going to work. I'm going to grind. I'm going to either earn more or I'm going to tighten my belt and reduce my expenses. And alone, I'm going to buy my first property and start this journey. Now she's able to be able to give back to the community. That's what I'm trying to say. So even though Booker T. Washington back then wasn't trying to do certain things via capitalism, to me, that's besides the point. It's still a situation of him doing for self, him not looking for anything outside of himself. You know what I'm saying? Yes, of course, that's not the entirety of the story, because I know he was doing certain things. He was getting money from certain places, 100%. But he still decided, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to better my community. And you mentioned about capitalism. Marcus Garvey learned from that man. And Marcus Garvey is arguably the greatest Pan-African ever lived. Listen to what he said. He said, capitalism is necessary to the progress of the world. And those who unreasonably and wantonly oppose or fight against it are enemies to human advancement. It wasn't necessarily a case of saying capitalism is the messiah, capitalism is salvation. It's just about understanding it as an effective tool. Without capitalism, he wouldn't have given us the Negro world. He wouldn't have been able to give us the Black Star Line. He wouldn't have been able to give us UNIA and for us to move in certain directions. You know what I'm saying? It was because of that. He used those things. He understood the world he was in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that capitalism will be the be-all and end-all for eternity. I'm basically saying whatever's good for the people, let's do it. But I want people to understand that capitalism can be, and in my opinion, is the most effective tool in 2025. Because someone as skilled as yourself, Christelle, you shouldn't be held back, respectfully. You shouldn't be held back by people in the community who don't have your skill set. It's down for you who's taking the time and the effort to develop yourself to go out there and start your own, for example, law firm, your own X, Y, and Z, and then hire our people. That's where the collectivism comes from. You're not waiting for anybody, Christelle. Do you get what I'm saying? That's where the two tie together. We can't divorce the two ideas. And that's all I'm trying to say. So all I'm trying to say is I understand things are hard, but we can't look to a particular government. We can't look to any incumbent party, right, for assistance. If this party, this white supremacist infrastructure has never benefited us. Why? We could read countless books. Walter Rodney.
Well, it's never benefited us because it's capitalism.
It's not because it's capitalism. It's not because of capitalism.
No, it is. Like, literally it is. Slavery was the perfect form of capitalism, right? Like the most perfect form of capitalism. So again, I don't have a problem with capitalism. It's the system that we have. But I think, can we stop whitewashing it and taking away the history of what it is, right? Slavery was the perfect form of capitalism. No labor, maximum output, right? Puts money in people's hands and then they're able to pass it down in generations while exploiting the actual labor that they use. It's perfect capitalism. So there's that exact thing that you're saying. The reason why we're behind is the very system that you're saying is great. It's capitalism. Now, we have to play in it. I'm not saying that you need to divorce yourself from the system completely. We have to play it. It is what it is. And that's what I'm saying is the nuanced conversations of, I'm not saying throw it in the bin, but what I'm saying is please let's, before we start saying that it's this whole great system that we should all play by, you also understand that capitalism is also made to fuck you over. Sorry if I'm not supposed to, but capitalism is also made to mess you up because you were the labor. You were the component in capitalism that capitalism needed. So you coming out of that now, how are the people that made this system going to allow you to let the system work for you? Again, I'm not saying it doesn't work for people. It does. We have billionaires, we have millionaires, we have people That's fine. But in its core and in its essence, and taking away the anomalies of the millionaires and billionaires that we have, capitalism is a system that is not meant to work for the component parts.
I hear what you're saying, but if, for example, somebody started using farms, farming pigs and cows, and using those particular animals to poison a black community, do we say for eternity never have a farm, never eat beef, never eat pork, don't eat pork, but you get what I'm trying to say? We don't say that. We look at the people behind the particular thing. When what's his name, Sir Jeffrey Amherst went over to America and laced all these blankets that were meant to help the Native Americans with smallpox, right? And decimated the population. Should we say, for example, they should never use blankets again? No, because you can divorce the idea from the intent behind it. So what I'm saying is, forget about the intent. If it's in the hand of us,
that is a very false equivalency.
No.
It's not about, because you're talking about a system. The difference is, you're talking about items that you can actually divorce yourself from. Yes, you can actually decide, I'm never going to eat the pork, because there's an alternative system.
Yes.
Right? There's an alternative item, right? You can decide, I'm not going to do that, and I'm actually just going to be a vegan my whole life, and you'll be fine. You are talking about a whole system, and saying you cannot divorce yourself from a system that you are forced to participate in. Right? Like even homeless people that don't have jobs are forced to participate in a capitalist system. Like you can't not. So it's not about, oh, do you decide this? You can't. You're in the system, and you were not meant to participate in the system. You were meant to be a component part of the system. You were meant to be the labor.
That's not true though, because I do hear a lot of people say that stuff, right? And they tie capitalism to slavery and stuff. Of course, that, like you rightly said, slavery would have been the best example in the hand of an exploitative person, right? Because zero labor, maximum profit, 100%. We get it, right? But capitalism wasn't made because of black people. It wasn't made because of black people. It was just because of a system that showed that mercantilism didn't work. We have to not have you know what I'm saying? So it was to progress any sort of nation, any sort of industry, right? It's not about the people. Say that again?
Perfected by slavery.
Say that again?
It was perfected by slavery. And therefore, everything that we now have, the modern day system that we now have, is a direct descendancy of it, right? So it's not that it was made by capitalism. No, I'm not saying it was perfected by that. And why would you want to move away from a perfect system? Why would you? Why would you have perfected something and then say, actually, because we've moved away from it, I'm not going to try and bring it back? They're trying to perfect that system again, right? So when you've got people incarcerated people in LA fighting fires for $5 a day, what is that? You're trying to go back to perfect that system, because who are they serving in LA? The wealthy and the middle class and that community. They perfected it, and why would they not go back and perfect it?
The majority of LA are not that wealthy. No, that's a generalization.
No, the majority of LA aren't wealthy, but a lot of the areas that were affected are still middle class income places. It's not homeless encampments. It is still middle income people.
But also, what's wrong with what E-Man is saying? Let's forget the past. Let's forget history for a moment. What's wrong with E-Man saying, let us make sure that we try to empower ourselves? So before capitalism or whatever it may be, you had to make your own. I think we've over-glamorized entrepreneurism. Entrepreneurism in other countries just means sell something. Provides a service, sell something that will make you eat for tomorrow. So I'll give it Ghana as an example. They don't have fancy titles like I'm an entrepreneur. They're selling. There's a person selling beans. There's a person selling egg. There's a person selling avocado. Do you call them entrepreneurs, or just they're making a living? So I think E-Man's trying to say, let us build within ourselves. So you're saying you're a lawyer. So then if I'm looking for a lawyer, I should go to you. I want to buy a property, I should go to Julianah. I want to do X, I should go to X. I want to do Y, I should go to Y. That's all in the basic terms, not using any big language, not talking about anything political. That's all E-Man is trying to say. And by the time you're concentrating so much on using Christelle for a lawyer, using Julianah to buy a property, I don't even have energy to think about anything else. Although it may affect me, but let me make sure that when I'm buying rice, I buy from the Ghanaian man and not the Indian man. And also the Ghanaian man is trying to sell rice. So his point is, try and sell the rice. try and sell the beans, try and sell X, Y, Z, rather than maybe going to others to look for help for you. Because it's all about money, isn't it? We need money to live. We need trade and commerce. But if you take other models like Africa, West Africa, which is predominantly Black, they are living and surviving and doing well because they're trading amongst each other with the daily basic needs. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basic level, everybody needs food, everybody needs food. So everybody needs food, everybody needs shelter, and everybody needs what else? They need water and education and healthcare. There's enough Black people that provide all of those that we can create an ecosystem. That is all Iman's point has been trying to make for the entire show. He doesn't care about Trump. Not saying that there aren't other things that affect us, but his focus is not Trump, is not Kamala, is same as Christie, is not Kamala, is not anybody else. Is let's focus on us. Let's focus on us. Although some of their policies may affect us negatively, his main thing is what are the ones that can, if we're going to vote, because not everyone votes, and that's also in our rights to not vote as well. But if we are going to vote for the person who's going to help us propel our ecosystem. And the point I was trying to make before with our history or just ourselves is if we look at other communities, they've had setbacks. Everybody's had setbacks. Everybody will say they've had the worst setbacks. I know Black people have had setbacks for sure. Look at the last 50 years. Riots, whatever it may be, I'm not denying that. I'm from Hackney, so I fully understand that. But even if you look at buying a house in Hackney, if you didn't resell and you held on to it, you'd be a millionaire. So gentrification actually benefits certain communities because if they're kicking you out of Hackney, look at KICC, the big church in East London. They had to move. They bought their own property. They had to move because of the Olympics. They moved and they got bought out for better. So if all Black people from Hackney, for example, were bought out and we said, actually, do you know what? We've got loads more money now. Let's all move to Area X. Then we'll all have a middle-class community in Area X because gentrification benefits those who have bought from that area. So the point you were making about people have purchased homes in Ladbroke Grove and West London, they would actually be, I know people that have bought from there and were millionaires and then put their money in Ghana because of how much interest they made. So there's also positives, but all Iman is saying is, we're not excluding any negatives, any setbacks that we've had, but today, let's move forward. If you're buying a house, go to Julianah. If you need an actuary to sign whatever it is, go to somebody else within your community, within your networks. If you're buying a hair product, buy Nala's Baby. And what's wrong with what he's saying? And why can't we learn from that? And then Julianah's saying she didn't come from a silver spoon in her mouth. She saved, she did this, she did that. And if she can do it, you can do it. And that's all she's saying. And that's all Iman's point is. But why can't we get that and grasp that? If you want a tutor, I tutor. So go to me. If you want a healthcare person, if you want to get your nose done or BBL, there's a Black girl in the community that does that. If you want skin chemical peel, there's a Black girl in the community that does that. So do for self. That's all he's saying. It's not, you don't need amazing capital. For example, Julianah said, if you've got talent, if you can draw, you don't need capital for that. You've got a community that can then promote you. You don't need capital for YouTube. You don't need capital for Instagram. People have become overnight successes because of those things. So if it's capital you're worried about, then don't do the large scale stuff. Do the minor stuff. Sell a service, sell food. During lockdown, people were making food in their kitchens, unsanitized or whatever, people were doing it. So there's always opportunities there if we want it, but we can patronize ourselves. And there's enough of us that care about ourselves enough to say, I will patronize you, but have a business. And that's all Iman is saying. How can I patronize you if you don't have anything for me to buy it from? If you're not selling, if your 9 to 5 is in the office, how can I patronize your law service if you're not telling me about what you can do for me after? What's wrong with that? Please, someone answer, what is wrong with that?
Can I answer?
That's why we want to move forward with. If we have we're always fighting the enemy, but let's focus on ourselves. We're powerful enough.
Yeah.
Why can't we do what Iman's been saying? Why?
Stop. So, I do agree that what Emmanuel says and what you are saying right now is what we should do, which is to patronize those who have the skills within our community. And I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Nobody disagrees with that. That's what they prefer to do. What normally happens is, I'll use an example, the previous government, whilst they were in power, anything that they did that were bad, it wasn't brought up at all. But now that we have the elections, all the focus on the bad policies that Emmanuel thinks that the new incoming government are rolling out, he highlights. And then in highlighting it, there is now a pushback from the chat because they're like, but why didn't you do the same thing when past 14 years you had so many things that didn't benefit us? Now, Christie came on and said, I don't care about any of these particular governments. If you're saying, let's do for self, let's just focus on doing for self. Don't bring in the good things that Trump is doing and then highlighting the bad things that the previous government was doing, as in the Democrats, right? And this is what edges people so much because it sounds as though all he's doing is propping up Trump. That's
no. I also to defend, not to defend Eman, but to defend the point. Is if I'm going to have to vote, let me vote for the person. Remove sentiments, and obviously other people are saying sentiments have to be involved because he is a prick. However, if I remove the sentiments and think whose policies will benefit me and my community, it might be Trump. And that's what he's saying. But he's not denying. I don't think he's denying the negatives. I don't think he's denying the negatives because they all have bad. But pick your poison. And Eman said, I'd rather Trump's poison than another poison where they stroke my ego, make me think they're not racist, make me think they're nice, make me think they like me and they invite me to their cookout. But yet they don't help my community at the end of the day. If I look and see who's helped my community, it's going to propel my community to do better. Obviously, they're going to hate me afterwards. Then I'm going to pick Trump.
Can I ask a question?
That's what he's.
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me? And this is for both Eman and you. I would like to have a list of the policies that actually directly benefit Black people, both in the US or here, whatever. I don't care what country, because I hear this rhetoric a lot. And all I ever want to hear is people tell me the policies that they're talking about. What are the exact
I actually don't vote. So I don't really have a leg.
No, it's not about you voting.
But I'm saying also, I don't think Eman doesn't look for, does it help Black people? I think he just looks at, does it help people? And when it helps people, am I part of the people that it helps? I don't think
I hear you, but all I'm asking for is that list, because I also actually find that talking point very lazy. It's a talking point that people always say, right? Oh, if there's a policy, I'd vote for it. So I just want to know, what is the policy? That's all I want to know, right? Like, what are the specific policies that this man pointed out that Eman or you or whoever else said, yeah, that. And there may be some. I'm not even saying there isn't. I just need to hear it, because every time I hear this talking point, I hear no policy. It's just a lovely talking point. Because I think it's interesting when Julianah was talking before, when people tell me, oh my God, the Conservatives versus Labour. For me, I can tell you certain Labour policies that directly benefited me as a person that lived here, right? Which is why I would not then just turn around and say, well, I'm going to vote Conservative now that I've got some change in my pocket, right? I can directly look at EMA and say, I was a benefit. I was a beneficiary of that, right? I can directly look at low tuition fees and say I was a direct beneficiary of that. I can directly look at free school meals, look at Sure Start centres being run, look at certain policies that were very socialist policies that I benefited from. And that's the only thing that I need to know. What are these policies that everyone loves talking about that Trump is parading that benefits us? And yes, you do need to care about it as you as a Black person, because all of his negative policies are always tainted at you, are always pointed at you. So yeah, you need to tell me, what are the ones that are pointed at you specifically that benefit you? Because the repealment of the Equal Opportunities Act is pointed at you.
Okay,
right. It's pointed at you. It's taken away race. Taken away affirmative action is pointed at you. It takes away race. Certain things take away you. So how is he putting you back into the equation?
So Christelle, do you feel as though?
Eman, answer the question. What is the policy?
Oh no, don't go.
That's what I want to know. What are the policies?
Christelle, you listen to the show, yeah, so you know I don't run. So I'm definitely going to give you an answer. Yeah?
So tell me the policies.
I'm going to get there. What I'm trying to say to you is this, and again, I'm going to get there. Do you think if Labour was given policies that I thought would benefit Black people, I would vote Labour? I just want to see if you understand my
The thing
position.
is, I don't know the thing that's funny is like everybody else, sometimes I'm not really sure on what your positioning is. Okay. I'm going to be completely honest, right? Okay. I've known you for a long time, but I'm not really sure what your positioning is neither. Because yes, you give me pro-Black, but then sometimes your talking points give me conservatism in a very weird way, which then doesn't scream pro-Black to me neither. So again, I don't know.
Okay.
Why can't you be conservative and pro-black?
You can be, but one thing you need to understand is the conservatism of America now is very anti-pro-black. Black people are conservative with a small c, right? As in religion has come in and meant that we are conservative in our social views, right? Mm-hmm. We're not conservative in the big C of what MAGA and whatever normally are. So it's not a problem about being conservative, small c. Black people are, right? When we talk about most religious views going into politics, when we talk about LGBT rights, when we talk about patriarchy, all that type of stuff, we are conservative. Yeah. But big C conservative, we're not. It was never for us.
Yeah, agreed. Christelle, to answer your question, what I'll say is this, yeah. For example, you brought up the point about EMA, right? And Labour, right? Mm-hmm. And how that benefited us. So, for example, if there was EMA, if there was stuff like that, and I felt as though that long term was better than whatever the other side was offering, let's say the other side is the Tories, I would be on the show saying, I think the best option for us is the Labour Party. At the same time, I'm not necessarily telling anybody who to vote for. That's everybody's own prerogative, right? All I ever do on this show is try to get people to think outside of the box, to not just accept what our parents did. I don't believe in us being tethered to any political party.
No, I hear that, but you need to also provide facts, Iman. So all I'm asking for are the policies that you have read on Trump's side. That's it.
Christelle, I'm getting there. On top of that, I'm also saying to you and saying to everybody that I don't necessarily believe that any side has put in policies that is going to affect black people directly. I really don't think so. I really don't believe that any side, Kamala Harris, Biden, Trump, Vance, I don't think any of them have thought about black people and said, I'm going to do this directly for black people to benefit from 100%.
But do you believe that there's a party that has done... No, let me just ask you a question. But do you believe that there's a party that has looked at black people directly and said, but I'm going to make policies to harm you?
Potentially. Yeah. Potentially. That could be the case, 100%. And that would be down to the individual.
On the balance of scales... Yeah, and on the balance of scales, individuals have come up with their mind and said, actually, Trump isn't for me. Because again, I've asked you, tell me a few policies. Yeah, just a few policies.
Christelle, I'm coming there. Trust me, I'm not running from nothing. I never do it.
My dear, you're running. Let me know the policies.
Christelle, I'm coming. I just like to develop the story so that you can understand where I'm coming from. Because like you said, you're not too sure where I stand sometimes, yeah? So what I'm trying to say is, if, for example, I thought the Labour Party provided more positives for us directly, that I believe anyway, that we can directly benefit from, than Tories, I'll say the same thing. But again, it doesn't matter for me because I don't vote blue, I don't vote red, I vote black. That's my main priority. I care about the things that resonate with me, being black, being an ethnic minority, being working class. Those are the things that matter to me, and how we cannot stay in that position. Because I believe, again, everyone's values are different, but my personal values is economics is life and life is economics. If you fix the economics of a particular people, you fix pretty much most things. That's my personal opinion. That might not be the opinion of everybody else. This is the reason why 2 days ago, we saw people say, I care more about what Trump is saying about black people than rather what he's doing. Me personally, I don't give a damn. Because if Trump can tell me that my country is a shithole country and Biden can tell me if I don't vote for him, I'm not black, both are just as bad. That's just my personal opinion. Both of them don't give a damn about me. All I care about is the person who can fix the economy. And let's get onto the policies. So to me, based on what they were saying, I think that Trump, and again, I don't think there's any policy, just to be clear, I don't think there's any policies that either side will do that will benefit black people long term. Again, you have to understand something, and Henry Hazlitt spoke about this in the 40s, I believe. The art of economics is understanding that any policy will affect a small group and a large group over a short period of time, over a long period of time. It's not just about thinking about the now. And I think this is what a lot of our leaders during the civil rights got wrong as well. They thought about the now. They didn't understand that a lot of the things that we fought for would come back and hurt us. Not that they were bad people, just that some of the calculations were wrong. I believe, again, not everybody has to believe this. I'm on the side of Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, over the side of W.E.B. Du Bois. I love W.E.B. Du Bois, but I prefer the lineage of Marcus Garvey and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Rely on self. So I say all of that just to say this. If we live in a particular country where the economics is far better,
where immigration, for example, is better. And again, I'm trying to live vicariously through the black people in America, because again, those policies don't affect me directly, right? But if black people, I'm hearing black people say these particular things, that as working class people, as people who don't earn much, if I have to compete with the immigrants, illegal immigrants who are going to come and do the same job for far cheaper, I may be out of work. Stacey spoke about the fact that Trump is forcing people to go back and work in the workplace. Why is that a bad thing for black people, she said? Because those people who are single parents, which obviously that disproportionately affects black people, they will have to obviously spend more money getting to and from work, etc., 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 right? If, for example, you had the idea that you had to compete less with people who shouldn't be there in the first place, arguably, right? Then your wages wouldn't have to go down. There's less competition. So that's another way of looking at this. Also, economics. Do I believe that Trump is better equipped than Kamala Harris to fix the economy? Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why. And I spoke about this the other day as well. Because...
Iman, I'm sorry. I'm just going to...
Wait, Crystal, please.
No, I'm just saying 1 second, because you're going around the houses to prove the point that there's not one policy that you're going to tell me that actually benefits black people.
I'm getting there. Believe me, getting there.
You're going around the house.
You've Christelle, please listen to what I'm saying. I'm getting there. I'm going to mention one thing for you. Again, I did make clear that I don't believe any side is making policies that benefit black people directly and that they think about black people. I really don't. That's my default position. But what I am saying is, who is going to do certain things for the country that's going to make black people benefit from those decisions? They're not for us directly, but who can benefit from it? If I'm in a room with a bunch of white people and everybody thinks it's too cold and somebody puts on the AC, I may prefer to be in that room. Not because they thought about me being too hot, but because they thought about themselves, but I'm benefiting from being there. I know they don't think about me. Both sides, though. For some reason, black people, a lot of us tend to think one side cares more about them. And I believe personally, I don't think that's the case. And even if the case, I don't think that difference makes that much difference. So I say this again. He bettered the economy. So Obama, again, he inherited bad economics. Obama, by the end of his term, employment decreased to approximately 4.7%. Trump continued the downward trend. People said that Trump made it worse. Trump did not make it worse. He reached a 50-year low. A 50-year low of 3.5%. People just say, well, he just inherited Obama. No, he didn't. He inherited what Obama did, but he did certain things also that accelerated unemployment rates. Also, there was a spike because of COVID. We know this. It happened to every country in the world. But that's what he did for the economics. So that means that certain people, black people, who we're saying, on one hand, their money doesn't stretch. If in an economy where their unemployment is down, means more of us have jobs, more of us can feed our own families, that's affecting black people. And also if the economy is better, inflation is down, our money stretches longer. That is what I'm talking about. Also, when you're talking about directly affecting black people, we were speaking about HBCUs. One of the things that black people love in America is the fact that we have HBCUs directly for black people. Obama allocated $4 billion in total to HBCUs over 8 years. $4 billion over 8 years. Trump had one tenure. He did $2.5 billion over 4 years. So if we was to extrapolate that and make it over essentially he would have put in more than Obama. He would have put in $5 billion. On top of that, he made $255 million annual pay. Sorry, he made $255 million annually permanent. Prior to Trump and Obama, and even under Biden, they did not implement a permanent law about how much HBCUs would get guaranteed. HBCU leaders said, thank you, Trump, for making these guarantees permanent. Prior to that, they had to depend on what would happen for that year. Trump made it permanent. That is a direct policy that affected black people who are hopefully going to get their degrees and go out and be something in the world, right? That's Trump who did that. He also forgave $322 million in HBCU disaster relief loans. He wiped them clean. That's what Trump did. Again, I'm not saying Trump is the moral guy. I don't care about his morality. I care about what he's going to do that's going to make life easier for us. That's all I care about. I don't care to support the right or the left. I'm just trying to say, black people, let's not tether ourselves to a particular party because that may be something that is harmful for us. That's all Emmanuel has ever said. That's all I've ever said.
Would next time, if Trump doesn't do well, would you be aligned with someone else?
There. That's what
Iman is not tied to it. It's today for now. If he looks and reviews in the next 4 years, God willing, we're still alive, and he says, you know what, they've done a bad job and we haven't done well, he's going to change.
That's it.
So whereas other people are very tied to I'm either Labour or Conservative. Are you allowed to say who you voted for, Iman?
Yeah, I voted for what's the brother's name?
Lib Dems.
No, I voted for George Galloway's party. You know.
So that's how untidy is to the party. Whereas a lot of people either I'm Conservative, I'm Labour, I'm this, I'm that. No, Iman is whose policies for today will benefit me. So I get, Christelle, you gave some really good points with Labour, with EMA, with so and so and so and so. But for example, people on this chat, we're not talking about people in lower incomes. A lot of Black people have now risen to certain incomes that other parties might benefit us more. So the more that party benefits us, by default, they won't benefit people that need to be on EMA, but then we could help. So for example, Julianah saying that she was a business owner and furlough helped her. She can now employ other people. That's the point Iman's trying to make. His sentiments are nowhere but to the Black community. So whoever can help propel us to rise within our community, then we can lift up other people up. You have an image in your head where I'm going up the ladder and I'm pulling my hand down to lift you up. The higher I go, the further I can lift you up. Yeah. And
Jackie,
that's what he's saying.
Do you think that you're saying that, like with the UK, where you're saying that a lot of us are making more money, and so another party might benefit you? I'm assuming that's Conservative.
I don't care. Like, whoever is going to benefit me, and then I'm going to ensure that I pay back in the community. And it could be Lib Dem. Let's say Lib Dem. Let's say Liberal Democrats.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just trying to put some context into that conversation as well, because I think this whole conversation about economics and is always interesting when we talk about the context of the UK and the context of the fallacy that we also have about Black people actually rising to a point where we're moving into anything else. But the Conservatives has actually done more to harm middle class income than any other party would have under their policies, right? So
then I'll vote for Lib Dem.
No, but I mean, even if
it's not either or.
It's not. I don't have a problem. Like, again, I voted Green Party just because I would never vote Keir Starmer. Like, Keir Starmer will never get my vote until the day I die, and Conservatives will never get my vote neither. But the reason why
Conservatives, their policies for this term was going to help you and your people.
They won't, because I'll give you an example, right? I am in the higher rate tax bracket, right? So again, I'm not in a lower class tax bracket, but the Conservatives have actually done more to harm me, because the Conservatives are the one that even brought in the higher rate tax bracket of 45%, right?
Then you wouldn't vote for Conservatives. That's Iman's point. Then you would vote for somebody else, like the Green Party.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so in the UK. That's why it's actually a quite weird conversation when we base it on economics, because the party that we think are going to benefit us don't. Because
who said we think Conservatives will benefit us? Who said that? But my point is that he's not a Trump supporter. He's a supporter of whoever he's read.
I'm saying he is. What you made a point that said that Black people in the UK have started to move up in the ranks financially to the point that they may now try to support another party that supports Labour. Right? Yes. That's what you said, right?
And that's why we all voted for Labour, because Labour really was helping us.
Like, no, that's what I'm saying. So I'm just talking to that talking point that you said, right? And I'm giving the example of the Conservatives because that is the party that people normally look at. You don't look at Lib Dems for fiscal policy. You don't look at Green Party for fiscal policy. You look at the Conservatives for fiscal policy, right? Because they are the party of fiscal and trickle-down economics and whatever. So I'm just giving examples that they are the party that actually in the 12 years of power introduced the higher rate tax, the additional rate thing at 45%, right? Which you'd think is against what their party would want. They are the ones that froze the tax-free allowance, which actually most government economists are saying that if that was not frozen, your tax-free allowance wouldn't be 12,500. It'll be more around the 20,000, further lifting people out of poverty, right?
Then next time I'll vote for Lib Dem, or next time I'll vote for Green Party. That's the point we're trying to make.
No, but I'm just talking about your specific speaking point on that, because they said people don't go to the Lib Dems for fiscal policy, right? These are the same people that said to us they were going to freeze tuition fees back in 2011 when we were voting, and then we tripled it, right, under a Conservative merged government, right? So that's what I'm just saying. Like, a lot of these conversations, I just need people to actually look at the policies. Again, I'm for this whole you go wherever suits you, right? Go for where the reason why I always ask what are the policies that Trump has is because, again, I think it's a very lazy speaking point when people say that, because then people can never really give me proper policies. The HBCU one is great, but again, that's a very common speaking point that people speak to. But what are the things that are helping the average US Black person?
Okay, so
What if that was all? What if that's all he needed to then sway his vote? What if that was it? Why do you need? Why does everyone need to be super educated on voting when they're voting for the other? No, when they're voting for the other. But if they were voting for Democrats, no one would be asking, okay, what are their policies?
Not one person will be asking.
Even for if
It's just a real question.
The Democrats, I would also ask him, what is the policy?
A lot of people don't ask that for Democrats. They ask that when you're voting for the other. If you're voting for Labour, no one's going to ask you, oh my gosh, how come you voted for Labour? But it's when we vote for the non-normal thing, that Black people vote for, that's when we start to ask, oh, why did you stray away from the norm? How come you voted for the Green Party?
Oh, because I believe
in not you. I'm saying that when we don't vote, if I was voting for Labour, you wouldn't ask me that.
No,
but if I'm voting for someone else,
ask you that. Do you know what? I would ask you that because even when Jeremy Corbyn was Labour, I remember he had a tax policy that said that he would tax people over 80,000 more money, right? That did not advantage me at all.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember having conversations with people where they even asked me, why am I voting Labour? And I told them that policy may not advantage me, but there are other policies that I know would advantage people that look like me. So I'm always questioning things on the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a person to say that all Black people should vote Labour. I'm not a person to say all Black people should vote Conservative. I'm a person of saying, what are the policies? Because also that conversation, that wider conversation of what are the policies is more about getting Black people to think critically. What is the reason why you are making this decision? Tell me that it's not just a YouTube video that you've watched where someone has spoken about the same rhetoric to get you. That has what are the things that are influencing you, right? Because immigration might not influence you, but something else might influence you. So I'm not that person that says Black people should vote this, Black people should vote that. But what I'm saying is Donald Trump brings up another more nuanced conversation, because with Donald Trump, it's not even just about the economy. It's about the society that he's building. The economy can be great, but if you're in a society that continues to try and push you out of that economy, what is the point?
And again,
that is my...
Yeah, 100%. And again, Christelle,
I've got a meeting, guys. Lovely speaking, Christelle.
Thank you. And again, Christelle, that would be basically the thing that you prioritize. And I get it. And this is why I said to everybody that I may prioritize things that other people don't prioritize. But that's just my opinion, because I genuinely believe that economics is the main thing that we should focus on. I genuinely believe that we need to be self-sufficient. We have to have economic self-reliance. I just subscribe to that. I subscribe to Garvey's teachings. I subscribe to Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings more than the other people. That's just my preference, because I genuinely believe that integration, especially when we were fighting for integration, it damaged what we did for ourselves. And MLK said the same thing. When MLK left, after Malcolm got assassinated, when MLK recognized where he was and he went to Jamaica and he started to learn from the Garveyites, when he came back and he sat down with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he recognized what was going on, he said, I can't believe what I've done. I think I'm integrating my people into a burning house. He recognized his strategy was wrong. You see what I'm saying? Because what he did was he recognized that in integrating, right, we forgot about what we would do for self. And my number one thing is this: I just care about doing for self. That's the main thing. I understand that all of us have different methods to get to the same destination. And I think that's the main thing we have to focus on. We have to focus on our heart, knowing that our intention is genuinely to get to that same destination. But my personal opinion is, I think the main vehicle, the most effective one, right, long term, is the ideology of doing for self. That's all I'm saying. And so if there's any incumbent government, any government that wants to rival them, right, and come into power, that can make the soil somewhat fertile so that we can plant the seeds so that we can actually do for self, then that's who I'm saying that we should vote for.
But what if that person's also actively got policies that are working against doing for self?
Then if that trumps it, then we get rid of it.
But that is the truth.
That's the whole point that we've been saying.
I just don't believe that that's the case.
I'm asking you for policies. Okay, so let me give you policies, right? Let me give you policies.
Please do.
So under the American government, there literally were affirmative action policies that said that the US federal government had to not discriminate against Black contractors for government work. Stacey, am I correct?
Correct, but it was more than just race. It was race, sex, religion.
Race, sex, all of that. They are rolling that back. which means that any family-owned, mom and pops, black family-owned things that want to get any government contracts, guess what? Now you're back to a kind of quote unquote, and I say this in air quotes, merit-based system, because you know what that means when they tell you merit-based system in the US, right? Yeah. Which means that you are actually discriminating against the very people that you are saying work for self, right? So Equal Opportunities Act, gone, right? And that was the basis of a lot of our progress. And that's what we're trying to explain to you, that, yeah, fiscal policy is great, but fiscal policy is always going to be an umbrella policy. And you have to look at what are the actual policies that are also going to affect us in the same way. So Equal Opportunities Act was a big thing for making sure that employers could not discriminate against us, make sure that government contracts were given on a fair basis, regardless of sex, age, gender, disability, right? So those are direct policies. Also, when people are talking about tariffs, right, it's a very interesting thing when people talk about tariffs, not understand that the American importer pays the tariff, not the person that is actually making it in Mexico or Canada or blah, blah, blah. So when you're talking about cost of living going down, the effect of tariffs is effectively that you are raising the cost of import by the American person that needs to import it, who therefore passes on the cost to the American consumer.
Yes.
Therefore increasing people's cost of living, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's another direct policy that I can tell you doesn't really work for the common American, right?
100%.
Immigration.
I never agreed with that. Because
it's a big misnomer that people say that immigrants do not pay taxes. No, I think I heard the stat that says the immigrants in the US actually contribute, I think it was 9 billion or something, some ridiculous amount of money.
Illegal immigrants.
No. Immigrant, because as a person, whether you're, because also this thing of illegal immigration is something that people talk about, but they don't know the law behind it. You don't know what actually makes someone illegal or legal. You don't actually know. We
also can't work to pay taxes.
We just put the word because it's a broad brush way of being lazy. Understand what illegal means. Illegal, especially I'm not sure about in the US specifically because I can't speak to US law, but you know in the UK, illegal immigrant only means once your refugee asylum or your application has been rejected.
Okay.
At any point before that, you're a legal immigrant, right?
Okay.
Again, I'm not sure if this is the same in the US. So when people say illegal, what you think that it's just someone that comes on a boat means that you're illegal? No, everybody has a right under international conventions to go and look for asylum and to go and look for refugee status. And it's at the point that your application is rejected that you become illegal. So if that person entered in and found a way to get employment, and in the US, I think you use an ITIN number to be able to work and pay taxes while you are waiting for your application, you're not an illegal immigrant. So like I need, and this is why I'm saying, please stop using these broad brush, lazy speaking notes instead of actually looking at a direct policy, the direct words and a direct thing. Someone is not just illegal just because you deemed them to because they turned up to America. There is a process. There is literally a process that makes you go from legal to illegal in most countries because you have to follow international conventions and treaties.
Crystal, you're absolutely godsent. You completely woke me up from my nap with all this beautiful dialogue that you've incited today. Eman, no one is misunderstanding you, despite what you may believe. I think we overstand you. You're saying you want to prioritize what doing for self because you feel as though both political parties, all political parties, do not act in the interest of Black people. No one said that is false. But what I feel like what you're saying without, maybe you're not noticing it, or maybe in the way that you're bringing it up because you're not presenting both the pros and cons, is that you're not weighing out the pros and cons of each. What we've been trying to ask you is, you can be perfectly aligned with Trump. If that's your choice, cool, that's your own. But you can't just say do for self, and you keep using my example from yesterday out of context. I wasn't saying that he's anti-Black because he makes people work from home. I was using that as context to show how policies, no matter if they're directly starting from a point of race, affect our day-to-day lives. So I hope you don't continue to conflate what my example was. I just wish that what you would do is, from that point of, yes, I'm gonna place my vote in an area that benefits Black people most. You also recognize that you're in order to do that, you have to weigh the pros and cons of each side. And we feel like you spent more time talking about one side without showing us how you're weighing them to get to that conclusion. That's what we've been fighting all this time. And in order to do that, it would require you to have some type of knowledge to make that type of comparison. And you haven't been explaining where you're getting that knowledge to even compare to get to that point to where you say your values would align more with Trump. We understand you. You don't have to explain yourself for the 36th time. But that's the part that a lot of us are not understanding. And when we ask you for specifics, you beat around the bush before answering the question. What Christelle's question was initially was very straightforward. You could have just said, these are the policies. You ended up giving some policies, even though some of them were from a slanted angle. But again, that's the dialogue that we should have spent the past 2 days going over, comparing those notes and weighing out the pros and the cons, and you showing us the math as to how you feel Trump is more beneficial to Black people. When we've given you from the get go how in the past 48 hours he's hindered us and taken us back 50 years. That's all we've been saying all this time.
All right, I don't know what else to say to you guys. To be honest with you, at the end of the day, if that's the direction you want to vote and you want to do certain things, fantastic. Like obviously, I've exhausted everything I need to say. You know what I mean? And I don't even know what
You've
else.
done what people.
Huh?
You've done when
I've done what,
someone's
sorry?
giving you a very valid.
I can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
And he said,
Christelle, your connection is going. We can't hear you.
Done what people do when people give you a very valid rebuttal. And then you say, well, I don't.
No, Christelle, you're cutting out. So
like,
Christelle, you're completely cutting out.
Yeah, you're cutting out, so we can't hear you. But I'm not. Believe me, again, if you guys watch the show and stuff, you know I'm not trying to run from anything. I could do this all day. Not today though, but I could do this all day. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not giving all of the facts.
But the reality is this. The reality is this, and this is all I ever wanted for us. All I want for us is just to stop being tethered to a particular party. That's all it is. And don't care too much, or so much, I should say, about what the people say. Care about what they do. And if what they're going to do is going to benefit you, then maybe you should vote for that particular person. Can I just mention something else? Big up Ree in the chat, because she mentioned something, and this thing I do want to mention. The First Step Act. Stacey, do you know what the First Step Act is?
Do educate us.
I will. But do you know what it is?
No.
Okay, so in 2018, apparently this was put forward by Trump, right? And it's intended to do two things: cut unnecessarily long federal sentences and improve conditions in federal prison. Are Black people predominantly affected by prison, basically, and what occurs in prison? Long sentences, stuff that was, maybe sent them there during the 1994 crime bill under Biden, under the Democrats. Are Black people disproportionately affected by that? Because the other day you gave an example of Black people being disproportionately affected by single-parent households and us not being able to carry the burden of going into work every single day about certain things, right? And I know that's the point. I know the point wasn't about the economics of it. You're just making a point about how policies can affect our lives. So for the lives of the maybe the 50% or 40% of Black men in prison in America, would the First Step Act affect them? I'll tell you what it is again. 2018, signed in by Donald Trump. It will cut unnecessarily long federal sentences and improve the conditions in federal prison. Would that affect Black people?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
To repeat it again, I'm sorry.
Would it affect Black people?
Repeat the thing again. Sorry, I was listening.
The First Step Act. To cut unnecessarily long federal sentences and improve the conditions in federal prison. Are Black people disproportionately affected by this particular, what would have been the case before this? Many Black people, as we know, the families were decimated, completely destroyed because of Bill Clinton and Biden's 1994 crime bill, right? It sent many Black people, young and old, to prison. Many of them are still there. 2018, Donald Trump signed in the First Step Act, intended to cut unnecessarily long federal sentences and improve conditions in federal prison. So that particular bill that was signed in, will that affect directly Black people who are, I'm pretty sure you would agree, disproportionately affected by this particular thing?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's an example of a policy for you. Number one. And number two, that might be something that somebody puts at the top of their priority list. My uncle, my dad, my older brother is in prison right now. I may vote for Trump because I care about that. And number two, I'm starting a business. He will fix the economy, lower taxes potentially, and that's the reason why I want him in power.
But that's the point of that. You're going back to the exact thing that I've been asking you to say about comparing and contrasting the policies of two sides. The same Trump that you're talking about also just signed I forgot exactly what it was called, that basically reinvigorated the privatizations of prisons, which there are many ethical things wrong with that disproportionately affect black people and black
you
people.
care about what he did with regards to prisons and how it affects private
I,
ownership of
I,
prisons. But when I just
I
mentioned
just said
something that
how that
directly
affects,
affects
I
prisons
just said
again
how that
and the
affects
First Step
black
Act,
people.
that's something you don't know about.
Don't stop listening when I'm saying the
I
point
listen
that
to
you're
everything
trying
you're
to.
saying, Stacey.
Because as I was finishing the caveat to what
All
you were
right, I'm
talking about,
listening.
you
I'm
started
listening.
talking.
I'm listening.
I just said that also impacts black people disproportionately because of how black people are being taken advantage of in prison privatization. So that's the point. What we're trying to tell you, to compare and contrast. By all means, support those things, but you should be comparing them against the policies from the other side. At the end of the day, we have to take the policies from Trump and the policies from Kamala and Biden, or whichever the parties are, red, blue, green, whatever the hell,
Yeah.
and say to ourselves, these might be the pros for black people. Each I'm not saying that everything Trump does is anti-black people. There may be very, very, very few things that are for black people, or that may benefit black people. Let me not say for, because the likelihood of that happening is not much, but we could somehow be beneficial to some of the policies that he made, or somehow benefit from some of the policies that he may be enacting that we weren't top of mind when he was enacting them. But our job when we're having these dialogues, and your job especially as someone with a platform, is to have an unbiased delivery in how you're talking about these things. That you're not just saying you're pro-Trump because you're pro-Trump, but you're pro-Trump because you've analyzed all of the individuals who are running platforms, and you feel as though Trump is more superior for black people for these reasons when compared to the reasons of the other parties.
Okay, I hear
That's
you.
all we're saying.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. And I've said many times before, yeah. If on this show everybody in this room was pro-Tory, you hear me talking about being pro-Labour. I just care about black people having all the information. You guys, as you
That's a
can,
lie because you're a capitalist at heart, so
I
you
think
absolutely wouldn't.
this
I
country
don't
is
think
not a
it's
capitalist
okay.
country. This
Amen. We don't
country,
have to go in
Stacey,
circles.
wait a minute. This country is not a capitalist society,
That's an
right?
absolute lie.
This country is not a capitalist society. That's a
What is it?
fact. It's a fact.
What is it?
It merges both. It's very socialist and very capitalist. It's not a capitalist country. If this was a capitalist country, you would know. You would know. If the benefits that we
Why?
have,
What would be the hallmark?
universal
Tell me
credit,
the hallmark. Tell me the
NHS,
hallmark.
universal credit, NHS, is that capitalism?
Child, I don't know nothing about what y'all have going on over there.
Yeah.
I like I said,
All right.
somebody in the chat
So again,
just made another perfect point and said, "What about qualified immunity for police killing?" Like
that's what I'm
that
trying
just
to say,
shows
Stacey. So
again.
there's pros and cons. I'm saying black people pick. That's what I'm saying.
But
Pros and
but
cons.
you don't
Pick.
you don't talk about those things against.
You
That's
speak
what I'm telling you.
you speak for it. You speak on that side. Everyone speaks for Labour. Everyone speaks for Democrats. I'm saying
But
just
when we
because.
tell you this argument, sorry, not to cut you, because this is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm
All
tired of
right.
this
Cool.
argument.
Yes. Good. Go
When
on.
we
Go on.
tell you, this whole time we haven't been questioning whether we understand where you're coming from. We overstood where you're coming from. What we're trying to say is the way in which you present what you're saying doesn't align with what you're saying, because you're saying that we should be unbiased. You're saying we should not pledge our allegiance to any political party.
Okay.
That we should align ourselves with the party that is most beneficial to Black people. But we're saying in order to do that, we must analyze all the parties and compare and see who is the most beneficial. But we're questioning your strange allegiance to Trump, because it seems as though while you're saying this, you only seem to be pointing out the things that Trump is doing to benefit Black people from your perspective. We're saying you don't spend equal time doing so for all the other parties, not just Democrats. You said we shouldn't be doing a two-party system. You haven't spent any time talking about any of the green parties for us. Like, we're just simply saying that the way in which you're going about sharing your points isn't consistent with what it is that you're saying. And because of that, we question why you're so aligned with Trump, because that is a twofold non-consistent. Like, you're saying we shouldn't pledge our allegiance. We're asking you the necessary questions in order to not pledge our allegiance. But then in that, your bias is leaning towards one allegiance. Like,
All right, so
how does
Stacey,
that?
okay, you know what,
We don't have
Stacey?
to go through that
Again,
rabbit hole again.
I'm definitely not going to do that, yeah, because we have to wrap up the show. But what I will do is, again, this show is for the people, right? So I believe my position is always, at least anyway, to say my views, of course, but also to speak about other things that we haven't considered. This is the reason why I say think outside the box and don't be tethered to one particular party. But what I would do more of, right, to hearing your feedback, is to talk positively about the Democrats and positively about Labour, or negatively, whatever it is, to
No,
just
that's
basically be
not the
balanced.
point.
Wait a minute,
No,
wait a minute.
Iman,
I'm saying
that
it to be
isn't. Yeah,
balanced.
be balanced.
Yeah, that's
And
what
we
I'm saying.
want.
Yeah,
No, no, no.
I fully
We want to
understood you.
see you're working.
I
You know, like when
understand.
you're in maths and they say show you're working. We just want to see you're working.
Crystal,
Because
believe me,
again,
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm genuinely, I'm saying to be balanced. I'm saying the pros and the cons of both sides.
and for me,
I
it's not
believe
even a balance. For me, it's not about a balance. For me, it's an educational process, right? I don't
precisely,
care about your balance. Because your
precisely.
balance might actually not even, you might weigh three things more than you weigh one thing, right? That's not a problem. For me, it's more about an educational thing for people that are saying that they're giving information to the community to give the information to the community. So if you're going to talk about the economy, fine, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about the policy. If you're going to talk about incarceration and the First Step Act, okay. So we talk about qualified immunity. We also talk about private prison ownership and the things that the policies that will affect that. It's all just about giving people the information, because I think a lot of people get the same rhetoric from the same people who also have not given information. So then when I hear broad brush statements like, oh, because Trump is better, or people should vote for who they think is better, okay, so give them what that information that they need to get to that better. Because we don't get that on the side of this conversation. We don't. Actually, I think there's a lot more scrutiny that happens on. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not even American. I don't care. But I think there's a lot more scrutiny, even on the Democratic side, of Democrats themselves scrutinizing themselves these days and realizing we did a poor job. You know, we had to do a really poor job in this, and that's why Carmen lost, right? Whereas I don't think there's ever that scrutiny on the other side, because the talking point is always around, well, I'm going to vote for whoever is best, without telling us why he is best. And again, if you care about incarceration and that's where your balance lies, that's fine. I don't care where your balance lies.
That's what I'm
but
saying.
give people the no. But what I'm saying is that you have to give people the information.
All right, and this
So
is
when
why I
I
said
ask
to you,
you,
I heard what you're
no, but
saying.
when I ask you a specific question like, "Hey, can you tell us policies?" Going around the bush and then just tell me one policy about HSBCUs, it's just not good enough for someone like me, because we could have just had a whole conversation about the policies in that time.
I hear you, Christelle, but you have to understand. But you have to understand something. Yeah, some people do care about those things, and the way I talk, I like to paint a picture. You know what I'm saying? So pardon me for talking too much, but I like to paint a picture. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, for someone like Stacey, for somebody who wants to go through the educational routes, and they care about HBCUs. HBCUs is a big thing in America. Right? So
No one said we don't care.
No,
No one said we didn't care. I said that
no,
was
no.
the only one point you gave me. As an example. I care. I didn't say I don't care. I'm saying you gave me a diatribe for like 5 minutes before you just gave me 1 point. That's all I said. That's what my point is.
All right,
it's not that I don't care. It's that you went through everything. Marcus Garvey, and then HBCUs. In that time, you could have maybe given me 10 policies that would have actually educated people.
All right, cool.
But also,
that's my only point. I'm college educated. I care.
Okay, cool.
Eman, you could have. This could have. I think we could have avoided a lot of like the back and forth of people not just disagreeing with you, but like your idea that we don't understand you. Again, about the well-roundedness, you could have said something like, if it came to the HBCU point, a balanced way to promote that would have been, while Donald Trump is giving money, it may come with some caveats, but at least the money is going there. Like you're acknowledging like the full scope of what that is in a very balanced way, and letting people make their conclusion as to whether him simply giving the money is of benefit, or is it that he's giving the money with the curtail of this is coming at a cost to you that may not be in alignment with the money. You still have the opposite side, but you're presenting it in a well-rounded way. I think doing that while also comparing that with specific legislation or specific proposals that are either in direct comparison to that or directly against that from an opposing party would have been a full circle way of addressing it, and you didn't do that.
I hear you, and again, I respect you guys for calling up. I appreciate you guys. Believe it or not, I really do, and hopefully you guys know this. I don't want to leave with a jab. I really don't. But Stacey, when you big up Kamala and Biden, do you give a balanced view? When you criticize Trump, have you given a balanced view? Have you said the pros of Trump ever on this show?
Yes, I have.
The pros of Trump without being prompted?
Yes, I have.
Yeah?
When you've asked me whether something that he's done has been a benefit, I have.
There you go. This is what I'm trying to say to you. At the end of the day, this is how we speak, right? But if you guys are saying you want to hear something in a particular way, fine. I hear what you're saying. I'll give you the information. I'll try again to make it balanced, and also, like Christelle said, to make it in a particular way. But at the end of the day, black people, I'm still saying do for self, and we all have to live and die by our decisions. There will be some people who make it, some people who don't make it, and I hope it's the majority of us who don't make it, who make it rather. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm hoping for. But I'm pretty sure there will be a correlation between the mindset of those who make it and the mindset of those who think a particular way. I'm pretty sure it will be that way. But again, we'll see. But again, all the best to us. You know, and tomorrow we're gonna have a good day, man. We got a wonderful guest as well, Brent, don't we?
We don't have a guest coming in tomorrow.
Guest host.
We have family coming.
Family then.
Good morning, NKU.
Brent.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you've been patiently waiting. You want to share your thoughts before we?
Yeah, I just wanted to make maybe two observations about kind of this conversation, also similar conversations. I think Iman's quite clear on his stance on what will benefit Black people being pretty much primarily, or the priority being, economics. And he has said that so many times. And that frames a lot of what he says and what he responds to. But I also think, and this is probably what leads into the frustration with other people when they try and debate with him, is that he says things that seem as though they might contradict themselves. I can give an example from listening to this conversation, or from, I think, yesterday, because I listen all the time. He mentioned one of the things that he, would say he uses to decide who he might support, who he might favour, is if their policies benefit Black people, or even inadvertently benefit Black people, i.e. sort of maybe Trump's policies or his perceived competence on some issues. But then someone gave an example of an executive order he signed, which, peels back or abolishes discrimination rights. And his retort to that was, oh, we should do something for self. So it didn't really address the fact that that would be detrimental to, Black and ethnic minority people. So, listening to it, it sounds a bit kind of confusing. I can understand why people, can get frustrated. But Iman's priority is economics, and really, maybe he should have a caption under his name, Iman, like economics consultant or guy, because that's literally your main focus.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the detriment, but certainly to the you place less significance on other aspects of even sort of the pro-Black struggle. You're primarily economics, and I can respect that, but you kind of get confused with other things because other people might care about other aspects like LGBTQ or health or family. But I think if you caveated more just on economics and not just say, oh, Trump's policies might benefit Black people.
Yeah.
In general, it will be less confusing. If you say you think it might benefit Black people economically, fine, then you can argue that point, you can delve into that. Because other things that are happening, other things that he's signing off, definitely do not benefit Black people, like in other realms. So that's just my 2 points.
My good brother, thank you for calling, I 100% agree with what you're saying, right? But I feel like I've said many times on the show that I believe economics is paramount. Economics
you
economics
definitely
is life,
have.
You know what I'm saying? And
you mix it up a bit, so it's a bit. I don't know. I think it can rub people up the wrong way.
I get that, but I'll be honest with you. I feel like no matter what, I'm going to kind of rub people up the wrong way unless I side with them. My opinion is very different. You know what I'm saying? I come from a different school of thought.
No, sorry, because
you know
I'm sorry, Iman. I'm just going to cut you 2 seconds just because I'm going to get on the train because I need to just maybe talk about what the gentleman's saying. I don't think you're understanding a bit better, right? What you're saying is you care about economics. Great. All right. So then when somebody also shows you a policy that would always also not benefit us economically, it's kind of washed to the side. So when I'm asking for a specific policy and then I say actually the equal opportunity that will probably do more to be to our detriment economically because it takes away the very protection that we need for contractors, for Black-owned businesses, all those businesses to even be able to sit at the table of economics.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about, right? Because it's great. But that's what the gentleman is saying.
I believe
you made the point. You even caveat one of your points by saying, "I'm sure people will say I'm moving the goalposts," but that's kind of what you were doing. So it's kind of like it's jarring to hear because obviously you acknowledged it, but that's sometimes what happens because you make a point and that's your kind of focus, but then someone makes a counterpoint and then you change it.
I believe what I'm saying to you. I believe what you guys are saying. I'm taking everything what you're saying in the spirit that I believe you're giving it to me, right? 100%. But what I'm also saying is, and I think that I believe besides the moral guide and everything, I believe that economics pretty much gives you the direction. It gives you the ability to be able to do anything you want, almost anything you want. This is basically my belief system, right? So, for example, like you said, certain things that may affect LGBTQ plus, for example. I used to work in for the council, right, in housing and stuff, and we used to have to refer certain people to Stonewall housing thingy, right? And they were specifically there to help only LGBTQ plus. They said no to anybody else. If you wasn't an LGBTQ, then you couldn't come there. Why? Because they needed something that addressed the needs of the LGBTQ. If, for example, I or Julianah, for example, started a development, right? And you started this particular amazing development. There's like 50 different flats in there, and it was only for black people, right? Or black people under the age of a particular, I don't know, under 21, who XYZ. That's what I'm talking about. Who can put something in place so that somebody like that can do that to create it to give back? That's basically what I'm talking about, number one. And number two, I'm
well,
also
under
saying...
Trump's administration, that wouldn't happen. No, I'm just telling you.
You literally just made that yesterday.
Based on the repeal of the act, your example wouldn't exist.
Okay, cool.
Because then that person is taking into account race to make a business decision. And under repealing the Equal Opportunities Act, I mean that cannot happen. Right. Is what we're trying to explain to you, right? And those type of provisions were there to protect doing for self. So taking that away means that you cannot say that I'm just doing that, because because although the intention of the act is to make sure that they don't have to care about us, the way that they're also going to enforce the act is that we don't have to care about us. You do understand that, right? That the intention and the actions are two different things. So the same way when they said. The same way that when let me ask you a question.
All right, man. You know what?
At the end of the day, we
all have our different
anything that is federally funded cannot have anything that is funneled by the basis of race, gender, sexual identity, whatever. That as of yesterday has been made illegal for anything that's receiving any type of.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's receiving any federal funding.
Okay, Stacey. Thank you very much for that. Okay, that was just one example, and I was using an example in the UK. But again, in America under Trump, that would be a bad example. Fantastic. Thank you for that. But I'm saying in the UK, for example, that would be a perfect example of somebody trying to do for self to directly affect ourselves. No government will ever put in place legislation to allow the building of a development that they themselves are funding to only house black people. Not one. No government in this country. But it might be down to the individuals to do that.
How come you don't use the time that you then speak to them, say thank you very much and goodbye?
That's what I'm trying to do, man.
Why are you using it to respond? So
you know what? Thank you very much, man. You're right. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you guys calling. We'll be back here tomorrow. Christelle, appreciate you.
NKU, I think it's the first time you're calling in. That was a fantastic observation. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Yeah, really love the show, guys. Keep doing the good work.
Man, thank you for calling again, man. I appreciate your call, man. And Christelle as well. I know you're busy, but try. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Peace.
All right, okay. Thank you everybody for... No, I've just locked off the Discord. Okay, I have to say goodbye to the chat. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. Appreciate you greatly. I was that close to basically saying we don't have any show tomorrow, but family is coming in tomorrow, so that's going to be upheld. Plus, I'm going to be responsible for doing topic of the day, so you're not going to have a 5-hour show. I apologize if anybody wants a 5-hour show tomorrow, but we've had 2 mother effing 4-hour shows for this week, and I can't afford that. I personally can't afford to do that. So thank you again. Everybody who's participating in the chat, love you dearly. I don't think you'll understand how much I love you dearly. Mm-hmm. Even those who were swinging from Emmanuel's nutsack. And also Stacey's and Christelle's.
They don't, I mean...
Both, this is balance. This is what it's supposed to be.
There's no balance. They've got enough to hold on. You can't do that, bro.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Fair. But anyway, the more the merrier. Please continue sharing your views, uninhibited and uncensored. That's what we love over here.
Yeah, man.
Minus Kevin. Kevin's not allowed to talk in the Discord again. I was joking. I'm not joking. All right, later.
Peace.
Bye.